into another episode of Mike Was Right with the host Mike from PA. We are live once again. It is September 15th, 2025, and oof, we've got ourselves another day of Mike Was Right again. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I'm getting tired of winning so much. I'm getting so tired of winning. I think the thing that is the most interesting about the Charlie Kirk assassination or the Charlie Kirk murder reaction has been something that I think has been a secondary factor, because most people are talking about whether Charlie Kirk's shooter was left-wing or not, and the answer is he was not. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that Charlie Kirk's shooter was left-wing. And now they're trying to be like, Charlie Kirk's shooters was living with a trans woman. Like, they're not even trying to argue that he actually espoused anything. They're now trying to use like order of operations, secondary person's opinions. Like, the guy's alive. Like, the guy's alive. As soon as he was brought in, he could have said, all glory to the workers, socialism forever, solidarity forever, free Gaza, free Palestine. Charlie Kirk is a murderer. Like, he could have done a million. He's like, so they're now, actually, there was somebody who held a left-wing opinion within 500 miles of him. They have literally nothing. They have literally nothing. Now, he also didn't go out there and say, groiped up for life, Charlie Kirk was a Israeli puppet, and Nick Fuentes, I did this for you, my king. Like, he didn't do that, as far as I'm aware. A chatter linked this and thought it would make you laugh. Reverse edgermentum is a satirical political term used to describe the phenomenon where a political commentator, analyst, or prediction consistently proves incorrect, often with outcomes opposite the forecast. The phrase is modeled after the financial slang reverse Kramer, which refers to investors profiting by doing the opposite of television host Jim Cramer's stock recommendations. The term plays on edgermentum, a colloquialism often used online for misplaced hype or momentum in a political forecasting, where an analyst's confident assertions are later contradicted by electoral results or public opinion shifts. In practice, reverse edgermentum suggests that if a certain commentator or outlet predicts a political outcome, observers expect the opposite to occur. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Actually, I think that, for a long time, I would get really mad whenever somebody would promote edgermentum, because I would be like, all of my high performing or high mask autism would fall off, and I'd be like, he sucks. He has no credibility. He's wrong about almost everything he says. He's constantly promoting right-wing electoral analysis. He has never expressed a leftist political opinion other than maybe kind of like retweeting Mamdani. Why the fuck is somebody promoting this guy? He's like 22 years old. He never worked in politics. He never made a correct, he hasn't made any really correct predictions. His analysis was dog shit. Why the fuck are people doing it? And then I realized something. Edgermentum basically is the same for the left as Harry Hasan is for the center. He just says what they want to hear, and he wraps it in a pseudo analyst method, and people are desperately grasping for straws. They don't want good analysis. They want analysis that will lower their anxiety. So he's figured out the game. Tell people what they want to hear, question mark, question mark, question mark, profit. And if you come in there and say, hey, this guy's analysis sucks, you're the asshole because you're ruining the vibes. They want to think Kamala Harris is going to win. Don't let people tell you that they're leftists. They want to hear that Kamala Harris is going to win. If you come in there and say, here's my leftist political analysis that's based on this, they're going to say, shut up. Kamala's going to win. My question is, who actually on the left wants to hear the shooter was a leftist? That's why he deleted those tweets, because I pushed back and everybody was like supporting me. And oofsie lazy. If you're a 23-year-old whose entire life revolves like getting Twitter clout, being shown to be like pushing this narrative that people don't want to hear is bad for you. So deleted instantly. Because again, it's not, you guys are stupid if you think that people, well, okay, let me say this another way. If you're the type of person who cares about competence and accuracy, and it cares about honesty, cares about forthrightness, then you are unusual. It's why you watch me. You are a little bit unusual. That's okay. I'm unusual. It's good.
About politics. My boss is an anti-revisionist, Marxist-Leninist, and saw me defending socialism with Chinese characteristics and said I was a petite bourgeois technocrat, and told me to take off my uniform, take off all my clothes, actually, my underwear, my shoes, my socks, and just leave them on the floor of his office, that it was my last day, and to not show my face ever again. Can someone like help me in a situation like this? Has this happened to anyone before?
Okay, first of all, I honest to God think that it's hilarious that the reason why people say that, you know, like they try to posture as like anti-China MLs, that may be the most pathetic political opinion. It actually may be the worst political opinion. Like legitimately maybe the worst political opinion. Because it's like, Gorbachev was right, actually. Like, come on, man. Come on. I think being anti-China is a sign a person is kind of very stupid. I'm gonna be honest. I think if somebody's like you could have criticisms of China, which I totally, you know, if you disagree with this or that thing that China has done, if you want to tell me that China should be more active in containing Israel, I 100% agree. I think it's a huge L on their part. They should be leaning forward. They should like just fuck with Israel a little bit. If you're going to look at the state of the world today and go, you know who I hate? China. That's crazy. I think the other thing is, and I'm going to be completely blatantly honest, don't you want to take credit for China doing really well? If you're a leftist, China has come from extreme poverty to a world superpower in like 30 years, the fastest economic growth in the history of mankind. Why don't you want to take credit for that for the left? Why don't you want to be like, yep, see what happens? You get a socialist party in power and your country explodes and wow, it's so good for you. Wow, look at that. Don't you want to take credit for that? Why do you want to be like, no, that was capitalism, Mike. Capitalism helped China become a world superpower. Like, oh, are you okay? Okay, can we do another moment of like, we were right? We were right. I want to say it's a we were right because I think everybody here, very few people here like if you're here, you agreed with me on this. We were right. The right never cared about free speech. I was here for the entire time where people were like, why do we have cancel culture? Why don't we just have freedom of speech? And I was like, the right wing does not care about freedom of speech. They want to censor you. The moment they get into power, they're going to make cancel culture look like a fucking patty cake, pretending like we're going to have free debates. If the right wing gets in power, they're going to censor everything. You're an idiot. I had this argument with people like Destiny, and I've been having it for years. There's something that I wrote back in July. Those on the left tried to explain that the right never cared about the principle of free speech. They wanted to use slurs and discriminate against marginalized identities. The moment the right can silence the opposition and censor, they do. I mean, it was so fucking obvious. You see, I mean, I talk about this so much. It's just like yet another example. By the way, they're going to ban TikTok on Wednesday. I don't know if you guys forgot. They keep doing these like false starts, but the TikTok ban is supposed to happen on Wednesday. My sisters both posted about Kirk on social, speaking like he was a family member. They never heard of him before the assassination. When I pressed them about their connection to Charlie Kirk, they got extremely defensive. I don't think they're being shown the reality. Yes, people don't like murder. People don't like murder. So they feel bad when they see a murder. It's the reason why people have turned against Israel. They don't like seeing all those kids murdered. It's not very complicated. Regular people don't like killing. Now, if you're the type of person who is like, hell yeah, Charlie Kirk died, that's a weird position. You probably have that position because you've thought a lot about what Charlie Kirk has done. Like, he celebrates the murder of others, and you were like, this is ironic. This guy said that it was fine that a lot of kids got shot at school shootings, and then he dies to a school shooting. That's pretty ironic. You probably saw more, like if you were somebody who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, you probably know a lot about Charlie Kirk. The people that are not celebrating Charlie Kirk are either fascists who support political violence already, and they're just doing crocodile tears, or you're a normal person who doesn't like when people get murdered, which guess what? That's my position too. When people get murdered, that's bad. Murder bad. That's what we're trying to avoid with politics. See, the reason why we have political systems is so that we don't have violence. Elections are the alternative to civil war. This is what people don't seem to understand, okay? The reason why you have elections is so that you don't have civil wars all the time. That's the same reason why you had kings and you had hereditary titles, so that there didn't have to be a war every single time some warlord died. There doesn't need to be a war every single, you have elections regularly, because guess what? Things change in society, power changes. And so by having elections, you could hopefully match that shift of societal power with roughly population. But unfortunately, we now live in the time where Americans, we haven't faced a war here at home for a while. We haven't really suffered a war here at home. And so to Americans, they think of themselves as the main character. They think they're going to be the person holding the controller. They think they're going to be the person holding the gun. They don't think they're going to end up like Charlie Kirk, sitting there, fat, stupid, and oblivious, while somebody else has you at a sniper scope. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why I oppose political violence, because I know what it means. I actually know what it means. The reality is we live in a society where political violence is how it orders itself, how it exists. Donald Trump is one of the most evil rats of all time. I will never forgive the Democrats for making us losing to this fucking dope twice because they refused to make a promise about anything. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mao Hangs Dong. Thank you for speaking the truth.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
Do you plan on investigating?
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. They're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left.
They're already under investigation?
Already under investigation.
Have you asked to start revoking the visas of those who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death? Have you asked to start revoking the visas of the foreigners who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death?
No, we haven't, but we are looking at names. We don't like that. That's not right. We wouldn't celebrate if something happened on their side, and we don't. These are sick people. These are really deranged.
Good to see you this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Congressman, President Trump said on
So basically, Donald Trump is like, yeah, see, the problem is on the left, even though there's no evidence this guy even was a left-winger. I guess what Donald Trump is trying to say is, if you hold even one left-wing opinion, any violence you do is blamed on the left. I kind of hoped he'd be a leftist. Maybe there would be repercussions to the right-wingers spewing poison in public, make them shake a little. Turns out he's just a shitposter. No, the left would not do violence like this, and that's also a stupid opinion, because all that will happen is that any group or person associated with the left would be targeted for repression by the fascist government we have. They're already trying to do it, even though there's no evidence. That is a very dumb opinion. I'm giving you 5 minutes to think about how dumb that was. And here's the thing that you need to understand. Charlie Kirk was not a significant figure. Charlie Kirk was a servant. Charlie Kirk was not, Elon Musk. He was not Jeff Bezos. He was not Donald Trump. He was some fucking flunky being paid to spew hate. He doesn't fucking matter. There's going to be another Charlie Kirk in 5 minutes. Mike, did you see this? The person who shot Charlie Kirk is Republican, Democrat, neither, unsure. The answer is neither, by the way. The answer is neither. He was not a registered Republican or a registered Democrat. Tomorrow I have the honor of hosting the Charlie Kirk show. Please join me as I pay tribute to my friend. I think the main thing that I learned from the Charlie Kirk situation is I knew that Charlie Kirk was getting a lot of money to be an astroturfed guy, but $100 million a year was being pumped into Charlie Kirk. $100 million a year was being pumped into Charlie Kirk by billionaires. 100 million. They had 100 employees. Meanwhile, Hasan gets kicked out of the DNC for asking them to have a speech from a significant group of their own party. I mean, the Republicans gave James Buchanan a fucking primetime RNC speaking slot. Also, why is Candace Owens so batshit crazy about Macron and his wife? Why the fuck is she so fucking weird? Why does she even care? Macron's not even popular. Like, what the fuck is happening? I was told there was Candace Owens. Oh, here we go. I kind of feel like Candace Owens is the only person who treated Charlie Kirk like normally. Like, his wife's speech, I gotta say, was very weird. I hope if I was ever killed and my wife gave a speech, it would not sound like that. That sounded like they didn't even know each other. I got it, Wide Peepo, Danny. Did you see the gross performance video of Kirk's widow? I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm not here to criticize Charlie Kirk's widow. It's just the way that all his friends have acted has been incredibly weird.
Authorities in Utah are poring over what they call a mountain of evidence against 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, the man authorities say fired that single fatal shot, killing Charlie Kirk. The district attorney saying they hope to file charges by tomorrow, but authorities say they're receiving little help from the suspect who turned himself in Thursday.
He's not cooperating, but all the people around him are cooperating.
Utah's governor saying they have interviewed Robinson's roommate, with whom they say he was romantically involved. Authorities say it was his own father who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office after seeing those grainy...
What does that mean? What are they trying to say?
...pictures that were shared with the public. And according to the New York Times, those images were also recognized by acquaintances of the suspect in a group chat on a messaging app. Several of the group members apparently joking with the alleged shooter about how he resembled the person in the photos. The messages described by the Times reportedly show one user tagging the suspect's username and asking, "Where are you at?" with a skull emoji.
What are your thoughts on Max Blumenthal's reporting? I don't know. Are you referring to in general or just on this in particular? Because I'm not familiar with what he's been saying about this. But here's what I'll say about the Max Blumenthal group of people. I think that they are alienated from the larger mass left. And so it has kind of created in them this conspiratorial tint and this naivete towards the alt-right. So I don't know if that's actually right. Maybe that's just a sense that I got from years ago and then I never challenged it. It's not, he's all right. He's not like the worst or anything. Listen to this guy. This is actually a good, thank you for giving me this TikTok.
Suspect quickly responding that the man in the picture was his doppelganger and that people were trying to get him in trouble. Law enforcement is now reviewing this video obtained by TMZ, which appears to show the suspect walking towards campus at 8:07 a.m. In another video obtained by TMZ is a man appearing to match the description of the alleged shooter. Police say he appears to walk with a stiff right leg.
You went on Tom Dillon with wild theories? Maybe we should watch that.
Law enforcement sources telling us they believe he was hiding his long gun underneath his clothing. Hours later, as Charlie Kirk fired up the crowd, tossing out hats, authorities say the suspect made his way to the roof of a...
Look how many bodyguards he had. He had PMC bodyguards. Like, look at this shit. They were worried that somebody would come up and try to throw a fucking cream pie in his face or you know, run up and punch him. So they had a number of PMC bodyguards. I mean, he had like, what, 7? I'm not sure how you're able to record your TikTok in your place with VO around. Yeah, whenever I try to do a TikTok, all of a sudden, this happens. Good clip, chat. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm sure you could hear it in the latest TikTok. Okay, I got the Tom Dillon show.
Suspect made his way to the roof of a building about 175 yards from the stage and waited out of sight. At 12:22 p.m., investigators say the alleged shooter sprang into that sniper position. A minute later, at 12:23 p.m., Kirk began answering a question about gun violence.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
All I can say is there was a Channel 5 video about this guy, and I've never felt happier that I didn't watch Charlie 5. And I don't watch Channel 5, excuse me. There was a Channel 5 video with this guy, and I gotta say, I've never been happier for not watching a video because that guy was fucking annoying. Look at this. Look at these PMC bodyguards. PMC bodyguard 1, PMC bodyguard 2, PMC bodyguard 3, PMC bodyguard 4. This guy has got 4 fucking, like, he's got 4 BlackRock guys around him. Whatever the fuck it's called now. What is PMC? Private military contractor. Blackwater guys. I mean, each one of these guys look like they're at least 225. They did not have, there's no way, guys, this was another Mike's analysis was better than everybody else's. When I saw the shot, there is no fucking way he survived that. He was dead before he hit the ground. Okay. He was basically guillotined from 200 yards away. Like there's no, it was job done. And the thing is, like, we've talked about rifle wounds versus pistol wounds in this channel before. Not all bullets are the same. Okay. A high-powered rifle round, a hunting rifle bullet is going so fast that it causes your flesh to cavitate and split and rip the way that a pistol bullet bores through you. A rifle bullet, a 30-06, which is at the high end of a medium round, fucking, you are not taking that to the neck and surviving. It's not happening. He lost the carotid artery. He lost his jugular, and most likely severed his spinal cord. And I could tell right away, just from the volume of blood that came out of the entry wound, it looked like he lost a pint of blood out of the front. The exit wound is where all the real damage is done. Like, he was gone. I mean, I doubt Charlie Kirk even knew anything happened. I think the lights went out basically within a second or two. Like, he didn't experience anything. And look at this chat. All the enlightened centrists. Seriously, I don't know this, but it flashed into my head. Did Moist Critical call the shooter a leftist? Did Moist Critical call the shooter a leftist? Because I've been on the anti-Moist Critical trade for a very, very long time. He attacked iDubbbz for apologizing for being racist and saying the N-word. He definitely. I gotta watch this Moist video now. I gotta watch this Moist video now.
I was an extra. I've been up all night again for the second time this week already. Insomnia is absolutely bending me over. Now that I've turned 31, all of a sudden I've unlocked the superpower of insomnia. And while I've just been digesting things, learning things about like aliens and geodes because of like the life on Mars rock. And while I was perusing that, I saw the breaking news that they caught the man responsible for the assassination.
I don't go to Moist for political analysis. He's a gamer, not a politics guy. Just like Asmongold. That's what Asmongold people used to say. And I have been anti-Moist Critical for a very, very long time on my own. I know it's not a popular take among, many people because they don't want to believe it, but he's always been kind of right-wing, guys. He's always been kind of right-wing. Every way that he could subtly, he lives in Tampa, Florida, okay? If you're a multi-millionaire and you can live anywhere in the country, Tampa's like third place in Florida. Like, it's not even a nice place to live in Florida. So choosing to live in Tampa is a political decision. If you have a content creator and they're a multi-millionaire and they choose to live in Tampa, they are making a political decision. Same thing as if they're living in Austin. Sorry to tell you that, but it is the case. Austin is bad news. I live in Austin. This is true. Sorry, man. Are you a multimillionaire? I mean, like, listen, I understand why many of you are like, Mike, I live in Florida. Mike, I live in Texas. Yeah, I'm not talking about you. If you had multiple $1 million, would you move? Let's be honest. Money is no longer an option for you. Would you leave Tampa, Florida? Would you leave Austin, Texas? The other thing, oh my God, I was about to do a rant about content creators in Austin that I probably shouldn't. But they don't even really live in Austin. It's like, would you live in a Texas suburb if you were a multimillionaire? Would you live in a Texas exurb if you were a multimillionaire?
Of Charlie Kirk. This is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, and I'm pretty sure they actually got the shooter this time. In the beginning, there was a lot of hoopla because they brought in like 2 octogenarians claiming that it could be the shooter. It wasn't. This time, though, they absolutely got the right guy. He is definitely the shooter. He was turned in by his father. I'm pretty confident I don't need to explain what happened. I imagine all of you are familiar with it by now, but
I've consistently hated Moist Critical since high school. He's definitely a right-leaning guy. All his takes on movies and games are just copy-paste of the most popular opinion you see on Twitter or Reddit. Basically, Moist Critical's grift is, I'm going to just be the avatar of the nonchalant Redditor. And whatever is the top upvoted post on r/Kotaku exposed or whatever, he's going to repeat in a calm, monotone voice with his eyes barely open. He's a guy who has the appearance of being a weed smoker who doesn't ever smoke weed. This is part of why so many people on the left think that he's chill, is because they're like, oh yeah, this guy's like a cool weed smoker guy. He's got the long hair. I don't know if you noticed, but his eyes are not bloodshot, chat. This guy does not touch the devil's lettuce. He's stealing your valor. 420 cultural appropriation. I mean, like, this is the definition of a Reddit bedroom. This is like the Redditors' bedrooms if they were a multimillionaire. Bro, do you see my huge statue of Sauron? I got my own gamer subs claw machine.
Just in case, Charlie Kirk was on a college campus in Utah where he was inviting the audience to debate him on a variety of topics. And while doing that, he was shot.
Wait, what? How does he describe Charlie Kirk's? Wait, back this up.
Just in case, Charlie Kirk was on a college campus in Utah where he was inviting the audience to debate him on a variety of topics. And while doing that, he was shot in the neck and he died. It is fucking terrible. The videos are sickening. They are very gruesome. I don't recommend watching them. The gunman, now ID'd as Tyler Robinson, was positioned roughly like 200 yards away on top of a building, and he escaped for a little while. He jumped off the building. We have footage of all of this. I had planned on showing you some of the footage of Tyler Robinson, running away with the rifle and everything. I mean, I guess it's worth mentioning why I'm not. I actually made this video like 3 or so hours ago, and when I finished rendering it, I went to my channel to find out I got a copyright strike from a news agency for using some of their clips when going over the topic of that doctor that would walk around his office butt-ass naked for a long time, had even ejaculated on a patient/employee, even called himself the Naked Doctor. I was covering that fucking wacko, and I used some of that news footage and got struck for it today. So I don't know if I'm allowed to use news footage here, so I'm going to refrain from showing any clips when talking about everything in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination, because I want to make sure this video doesn't get taken down. I think this is something very important and something that I really want to talk about. Anyway, Tyler Robinson's father alerted authorities that he believed his son was the shooter they were looking for, and obviously the investigators followed up. They investigated and found sufficient evidence to conclude that this could very likely be the person responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
By the way, can we just say how useless Charlie Kirk, how useless Voice Critical is? Can we just say how useless Voice Critical is? Because like, he's supposed to be the gamer content creator who understands the youth, and his reaction to this is, yeah, this guy's a leftist, instead of going, this is just memes.
Found 4 bullet casings that were engraved with messages on them. So the one fired casing read, "Notices bulges, OWO, what's this?" Which is a furry meme. It's like one of those old like Tumblr furry memes, I think, about like nuzzles you rar, that kind of shit. He had other messages on the other casings, the ones that were unfired. So one of them said, "Hey fascist, catch," and then had up arrow, right arrow, and then down arrow 3 times, which people were quick to pick up on as a Helldivers reference. Another one said, "Oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao," which is apparently a reference to an Italian anti-fascist song. And then finally another one said, "If you read this,
this is literally just reading CNN. This is just reading CNN. This is the CNN level take.
Gay, LMAO. I think these engravings paint a pretty clear picture of a fucking cringe loser. This is a lunatic. This is a maniac. But according to those close to him, he wasn't like politically active or anything until
I mean, this is 100 because the left is idiotic about optics, and now the right has completely created the narrative. Now it has already been cemented in the minds of like 65% of Americans. Wrong. Alice, you're wrong. We just looked at a poll. Most people have no idea if the shooter is Republican or Democrat, because the answer is he wasn't a Republican or a Democrat. Sorry, you're wrong. The fascists are trying to spread the narrative, and it's not working because it's not true. And people are a lot smarter than you think. So, yes, right-wingers are trying to spread the narrative he was a leftist. Not working.
Recently, which I think sounds right. Politics has become turbocharged over just the last handful of years, to the point where people can go from like not really being involved or only dipping their toes in to being just full-blown fucking radicalized and just, you know, off their rocker, off their fucking gourd in politics. Like, it is, everything is just accelerating at such a scary, alarming rate. Something else worth mentioning here, the authorities were claiming that Tyler was communicating via Discord about this. However, Discord is coming out and saying that it found no evidence that the suspect planned the shooting on its platform or promoted violence. It was apparently reported by...
Well, he had a trans girlfriend. I mean, is there even any evidence that his roommate was trans? Other than Republicans who are motivated to spread misinformation saying it based on one fucking TikTok where the guy was wearing a hoodie? Or I don't know if she's trans or not. I don't want to misgender anybody, but like, is there any evidence at all? What's the evidence? And the thing that is really annoying is, even if he was dating a trans person, that doesn't make you a radical leftist. There are plenty of conservatives and moderates that date trans people. That's not a political opinion in and of itself. Like saying everybody in an interracial marriage or interracial relationship is obviously a far leftist. No, they're not. People have all sorts of contradictory opinions.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox that the shooter's roommate showed investigators Discord conversations with someone listed as Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, watching the area where the rifle was left, and having it...
I think people are saying they found the roommate's Reddit account, but that's Reddit tier investigation, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe that is the roommate's Reddit account, but I don't want to do a we didn't Reddit using Reddit posts. I'm not going to form my political opinion based on the rumors that we found the Reddit account of someone else. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Having left
this is grasping at straws, trying to give the right wing some sort of angle where they could pretend that this was motivated by some sort of organized leftist violence, and it's not. It's very clearly not.
In a towel, the Discord saying they can't find those messages that were referenced in that reporting. So that one is still a little shaky as of me making this video, but I thought it was worth mentioning here. Now, already outside of the...
Take this, you fascist was a helldiver meme. An uwu notices bulge has been used by the entire internet, both by furries and by non-furries making fun of furries. So it's literally, it means fucking nothing. Do you understand? The guy's not dead. You know that, right? The shooter is alive. If the shooter had some sort of elaborate fucking political message, he would be getting it out. They would be saying, he's ranting nonstop about how capitalism needs to be overturned and that everybody should take up arms. There would be some sort of thing. There's nothing. Hey, Con Intel Pro, thank you for the 10 tier month. Like, come on. Come on. You and I both know this.
The obvious major conversation that's been being had here about political violence, there is now like another separate conversation that's starting to break through because of the engravings on the ammo casing, because Helldivers was referenced. So now a lot of people are pointing the finger at video games, which is something that has historically happened in the past with people immediately...
Who's pointing it at video games? Who? Who's pointing it at video games, Charlie? You're supposed to be making a video! The right-wingers, conservative right-wingers are playing video games, Charlie. Can you do any analysis at all? Can you say anything of value, Charlie, that isn't fucking stupid, please?
Trying to scapegoat video games as like the catalyst for a tragedy. This is a path that's been walked hundreds of times before, and I'm sure it'll be walked hundreds of times again. Do I think Helldivers had any role to play in this monster carrying out this assassination on Charlie Kirk? I don't. I don't think video games are ever really to blame. Anyway, as of now, there's been a lot of misinformation flooding around with like different Tyler Robinsons and also like people making claims about whether he's a Democrat or a Republican, which is obviously a big subject here considering the motive being political. Now, with all the available...
What's your evidence? What's your fucking evidence? I mean, I looked at the Discord messages that he did with his friends. They weren't like, yes, you got that fascist. They were like, hey, the shooter kind of looks like you. And he's like, oh no, my doppelganger is going to get me in trouble. He wasn't like, haha, based, fascist down, Donald Trump's next. He didn't say that. It was like, they didn't even think it was him other than it kind of looked like him. Like, this is, you're wrong. Charlie, shut the fuck up. You are so bad at this.
Information about what they found, as well as like where he's potentially been. To me, it seems like he's more left-leaning than right, but nothing is 100% confirmed, and there's so much information it's hard to know for sure. A lot of people are saying since he grew up in a republic, 100% confirmed he's potentially been. To me, it seems like he's more left-leaning.
Wow, man. It seems like he's more left-leaning. What the fuck does that mean? What does that fucking mean? So we go from radical left violence and organized radical ultra-leftists are now taking violence into their own hands. We've gone from that to, well, maybe he was left-leaning? I thought it was part of an organized movement of the radical left to start assassinating the right. That was just, well, he might have had a trans girlfriend, and he might have been left-leaning. Also, okay, this guy was a college dropout. He was in a technical college to become an electrician. People have been saying he lived with his trans girlfriend, but initial reports were that he lived at home with his parents, which makes sense because he was at home with his dad when he was confronted. So it sounds like he was living with his parents. So which is it? Was he living with his trans roommate or girlfriend, or was he living at home with his parents? Like, what are we talking about? They're like, college was radicalizing him. He went for one semester and then he went and became an electrician. Like, he went to an electrician trade school, technical college. So what are we talking about? Were they doing, like, what is going on? And the thing is, I just want to say, I never want to hear that Charlie Kirk can't speak about Palestine anymore because he doesn't do political content. This fucking lolcow has been milking Jeffrey Epstein stories, and now he's spreading misinformation about the Charlie Kirk shooter based on vibes. Where is Charlie's condemnation of Gaza? I mean, like, at this point, it's pretty clear that he watches a lot of political content because he's constantly talking about politics. So why isn't he saying anything? I mean, this is a post on his subreddit from a year ago. Has Charlie made any statement about the genocide going on in Palestine? Why would he? He's not a political content creator. Why would he, guys? Why would he? Oh, wait. This account has been suspended. Was that a Israel bot? Was that a DGGer? He does talk about the Ukraine war. He talks about the Ukraine war. He talks about Charlie Kirk's assassination. He talks about the Epstein files, but he just can't find anything to say about genocide. Imagine liking this guy.
Then right, but nothing is 100% confirmed.
We had an edited watch party on my Discord a couple weeks ago, and I missed it. I still haven't seen it. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I usually try to make it, but I haven't made the last 2 movie nights, and I'm so mad.
And there's so much information, it's hard to know for sure. A lot of people are saying since he grew up...
Does sleeping with a trans woman make you left-wing? No! Just like sleeping with a black woman doesn't make you left-wing, and sleeping with... Like, what are we talking about here? Where you stick your penis is not your politics.
In a Republican household, and there's so many photos of him at a young age around guns, he must be a Republican. But that's not always the case. Kids don't always grow up to be just carbon copies, clones of their parents and their beliefs. Like, yes, they're more inclined to follow those beliefs, but it's not always how it works out. And according to people closest to him, he got much more political over the last couple years, so anything could have changed. There's no telling for sure. But this definitely does seem to be a politically motivated assassination, which, if you ask me, is a horrible thing. And my heart breaks for the family that is now without a father. I think it is bad. I know. Classic Charles with a grass is green take. I also want to mention something that a lot of people kept saying, I'm sure you've seen it in the comment section or on streams or elsewhere, about how I'm dodging this topic and refusing to speak on it. And people even go as far as to say that I am endorsing political violence by not making a video on it, which I find to just be unhinged. I find that to be so fucking twisted, especially considering it's not like I've been shy on this subject.
As a trans woman, I can assure you that men being attracted to me is not indicative of political leaning. Plenty of chuds love the dolls. Of course they do, because attraction is not about politics. It's an innate urge that comes deep. It's not something you can control. This is something people have been writing about since we could dents in stone with the chisel. We've been talking about why do I like her? She's so bad for me. They were chiseling that into the fucking cave wall. Okay, we've always been like this.
Since it happened,
and trans women were around back then too.
I have covered it extensively during streams. I've been mainly gaming because I've been in such a fucking huge gaming arc in my life right now, but I have still talked about it a lot. And I said from day one, I planned on making a video once the shooter was caught, because I was very confident the shooter would be apprehended pretty quickly. Like, they had a substantial amount of footage showing him on the roof, jumping off the roof, even wandering through the neighborhoods. They even had pretty clear photos that they released to the public that showed a lot of this guy's face. So I was pretty certain that they were going to either catch him pretty quickly, track him down, and get them themselves, or what ended up happening, someone would recognize him and turn him in. So I wanted to wait for that to happen so that way I can make a video covering the entire situation here, because I find it to be such a big deal. But since I was mainly talking about it on streams instead of in a video, which, by the way, if I did do like a video when it happened, a follow-up video, and then this video, people would accuse me of milking a tragedy. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But because
But you decided to make a video about this because you would get a lot of views and it wouldn't hurt your career. So you decided to take advantage of the algorithm. But when it comes to the Gaza genocide, where millions of children are being starved, you know, you just don't notice. It's only been 2 years, right? And you just, you know, hey, guys.
I was talking about it on streams, people accused me of trying to hide it there. Basically saying that doesn't count, it only matters if you make a video on it. So let me be crystal clear here. I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk, everything that happened here is fucking horrible. Palestine situation?
He accidentally read it.
What? Why would what's going on in Palestine have any effect on anime girls holding hash browns? How does one correlate to the other? I did, Vinny. What do you mean? Of course. I said big thank you for it. And that is always good to see and hoping that you're doing well.
Cool guy he is.
The last map.
Who's the Gaza team?
8 kill dub.
Gaza, grab this.
So we're following up right.
Okay, so that was just them talking about video games.
I think it is horrific. Awful. I think it is terrible. And I'm aware that
Charlie, like, the thing is, people be like, you cope when you say that he is riding the fence. He's not riding the fence, guys. He's very firmly on the right side of the fence. You just don't want to see it because, again, aesthetics, nostalgia. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, maybe you guys can show me and tell me the really big, funny Charlie Boys Critical. Sorry, I keep calling him Charlie Kirk. This Boys Critical goof and gaff that really made you a big fan. I'm not aware of it. This guy is, let me read the fucking top Reddit post in a monotone voice guy. I don't know what the big Boys Critical, you know, goofs and gaffs are.
Some people have been celebrating this. I find that to be fucking disgusting. Now, as I said on stream...
Oh, it's disgusting. It's disgusting, guys. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Don't worry. I mean, I don't see any times that he talked about George Floyd. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but a lot of people made fun of George Floyd. No results for George Floyd? Okay. What about Zimmerman? Let's say Trayvon. Let's see if I can find. I mean, I'm sure he's got some Trayvon comments. This guy, I mean, no Trayvon. What's the Rittenhouse? Yeah, that's a good one. No, he doesn't. I don't have any Rittenhouse. BLM? Big rioting and looting going on in my area right now. I get that peaceful protests haven't done fuck all, but I don't see how destroying and looting small family-owned businesses help solve the horrible problem in the country. Big stores are one thing, but these are innocent families. Centrists are just fascists who are too afraid to say it. You shouldn't, honestly, guys, like, do you see how quickly the fascists abandoned free speech? Do you see how quickly they're trying to use the state to suppress speech? Did Charlie come out and say it's wrong? That the First Amendment applies to everyone in America? He knows content creators who are not American citizens who live in America. Does he think they should be censored by the government? He doesn't say anything about that. So he doesn't even believe in free speech. He believes in nothing but building his own platform for the purpose of making him money. And like, honestly, what use are people like this? What use are they? Why don't we pick people to give a big platform to, like Vanilla Mace? Vanilla Mace is 10 times the man that Charlie is, which is unfortunate.
I don't know
because I know she likes him.
Much about Charlie Kirk. And I've
Not
seen
great.
a lot of people saying that now when like giving their take on this, and I think a lot of them are just making that shit up because they don't want to get like too deep into the nitty-gritty or anything. Truly, I have been very offline over the last year and some change, so I haven't seen.
Speaking about free speech, this Charlie Kirk criticism crackdown is hilarious. I mean, it is crazy that people are getting in trouble for quoting Charlie Kirk. You're not even allowed to quote Charlie Kirk. Now you have to do this like solemn, oh, Charlie Kirk was actually a good guy. He was not a good guy. He was an evil guy. He cheered on violence all the time. He cheered on Nancy Pelosi's the assassin attempt who beat Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. He cheered that on. He cheered on the deaths of the people in Gaza. He said that school shootings and gun violence was the cost of freedom. Come on.
A whole lot of Charlie Kirk, the things I know about him come through like adjacent discussions, like with Epstein files or South Park. Of course, after all this happened, I did see a bunch of the clips that people were tossing around from like his talks or from debates, and it's things I don't agree with for sure. But even still, what happened here is bad. Even though I didn't agree with him from all of the things I've seen, it still doesn't change the way I feel about this being a horrifying, terrible thing that happened to him.
Here's generally my reaction. My reaction is I want you guys to see what the right wing is doing, what centrists like Voice Critical are doing, what centrists like Asmongold is a centrist. I want you to see what these guys are doing in this moment. They're not standing up for free speech. They're not going out there and calling for people to stand with the people that are being canceled. All the whinging and complaining and whining about cancel culture, and then cancel culture comes from the right. And where are these guys? And I've been saying this for years. I told you this for years and years and years. I said, do not do this anti-cancel culture bullshit with the right. They don't believe in it. They just want their speech to be allowed and your speech to be censored. They don't care. They want to spread hate and oppression and violence. We've talked about the paradox of tolerance, because you tolerate these guys, they get into power, and then they silence debate. That's what they do.
I think that's very standard. I know people are going to...
Mike, did you see the Dean Winters lib saying he'd side with the right? No, give me that.
Find that to be just, yep, grass is green take from Charlie, but it's the truth. It's how I feel. Political violence or violence of any kind like this, I think, is just fucking unacceptable. And it's...
All right, so right now, we have people being suppressed and violence being enacted against them because they protested the genocide in Gaza, which you're too cowardly to say a single mumbling word about. And you said nothing about it. That's not political violence to you. You're not allowed to say, I support Palestine action in the UK without getting arrested. Meanwhile, your friend Asmongold called for the genocide of every Palestinian. Is that political violence, Charlie?
Extremely scary. Anyway, just wanted to yap about this a bit. That's it.
Here we are with Atrioc. Cowardly. Longtime Washington Post columnist Karen Atta said Monday that she was fired from her newspaper last week over unacceptable social media posts she made in the wake of the right-wing activist Charlie Kirk's assassination, adding that she was the last remaining full-time black opinion writer on staff. What did she say? What exactly did she say that was so bad? I mean, I want to see what she said that was crossing the line. What a pathetic fucking loser this guy is. God damn it, dude. They rushed to fire me without even a conversation. This was not only a hasty overreach, but a violation of the very standard of journalistic fairness and rigor the Post claims to uphold. Black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. Charlie Kirk. They fired her for quoting Charlie Kirk. That's why nobody will say his different views on TV. Like, that's the thing that's hilarious about this. You want to... And it's very important to understand that the centrists are uniting with the fascists to try to go after Hasan right now. Just so you understand the situation. As I fucking predicted, everything I predicted is coming to pass, unfortunately. Everything I predicted is unfortunately coming to pass. The left may not gain power in this country, but if we do, we must operate with viciousness and thoroughness and removing every neoliberal from a position of any authority. There's no better time for the dirty break than right now. The left should go to war against the despised and rump Democratic Whig Party. Leave these bastards rotting on the trash heap. Imagine if people listen to me. I was cursed in a previous life to be a Cassandra figure. This has been the political idea I've been trying to spread. I'm not just being a gadfly to annoy you liberals. I'm trying to convince you that fighting to end the genocide isn't only morally right, but the only political path that will actually defeat Trumpism. Oh, well, that was October 22nd, 2024. Okay, I'm trying to find... I had a thing that I posted about how, like, centrists will unite with fascists to suppress the left. There was, like, something it's like, centrists. Maybe it was centrists? I don't know if it was centrists. Press the left. I think maybe it was the quote. That's not it. Here's this. Watch this. Okay, hold on. We'll watch both of these real quick. If someone could find that for me.
In 1961, the photo.
No, that's not it.
Kirk was at at his first stop in Utah. I'm disgusted by the broken state of this country, and I go over so many of the reasons why I'm so.
But Charlie Kirk is one of the main people who broke it. I've been involved in politics roughly the same amount of time as Charlie Kirk. I entered politics formally at 29. He entered politics formally at 19. Basically, Charlie Kirk and I entered politics at roughly the exact same time. And I came from a legitimately grassroots political campaign with hundreds of volunteers from a progressive left direction. This was before Bernie Sanders. This was post Elizabeth Warren, or contemporaneously with Elizabeth Warren, and before Bernie Sanders was really a big national figure. I was like a progressive left-winger, and I was radicalized to the left through my experiences in politics. And I was so disgusted with the Democratic Party, and I turned away from selling out. I had so many opportunities to sell out that I turned away from because I thought it was morally wrong. What issue or event pulled you into politics? Basically, I was given this opportunity to run against this incredibly right-wing Tea Partier, and I was back living in my hometown again after law school because my grandfather had died, so my grandmother had dementia and she had moved back home, and I was handling her estate and trying to get her house sold and taking care of her while we got her into a nursing home. And we brought her up here to Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania has nursing homes that are run by the government that are really nice. Whereas in Florida, it's if you don't have money, you die on the street. I was working, I'm sorry, Pennsylvania taxpayers, but she lived in Florida her entire life. And then when she finally needed help, she was brought back home to Pennsylvania. So she basically parasited off of, she did the typical, what generation was that? And anyway, so eventually I was able to get her into a 5-star government, county-run nursing home here in Pennsylvania. After we got all of her, after she ran down all of her assets, because you can't get help unless you go broke. And going through that, experiencing how if it wasn't for me, my grandmother would have probably died on the street. And so that really, 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 really disgusted me. And there was a lot of right-wing Tea Party types in my local community that were trying to privatize the county nursing homes. And there were centrist Democrats helping them. Centrist Democrats were trying to unite with right-wingers to privatize these 5-star nursing homes that were assets to the county that would make money for the county. This is the thing that's insane. They would be rated 5 stars. They would have unionized workforces. They would be owned by the county and be a huge asset, increasing the county's balance sheet and making the county able to borrow more money at a lower rate because they had a income yielding asset. All the employees were SCI unionized employees. They got 5-star quality care for the seniors, made money for the county. And the centrist Democrats were trying to unite with Republicans to privatize it. That's the thing that really radicalized me. That was the moment. That was the issue. And I was like, why are centrist Democrats basically Republicans? And every single time I learned more about politics, my hatred for centrist Democrats grew more and more intense. And what truly made me a radical leftist that wanted to destroy the Democratic Party was in 2018, when I witnessed multiple candidates I knew who were in tight elections against a Republican in swing districts, but because they were progressives, the Democratic Party and its allies sabotaged their race to Republicans. In 2018, I watched it happen multiple times. I had firsthand knowledge, including a campaign that I worked on. The centrist Democrats leaked all of our internal party campaign information to the Republican Party. All of our internal polls, all of our fundraising data, all of our volunteer data. They gave it all to the Republicans. They stole all of our campaign data and gave it all to the Republicans. How did you get clout to run for office? It's not that hard, man. If you want to run for a state representative, there's plenty of districts that you could, if you show up and you run and you put in a good effort, you have an organized campaign, and you're working with your local Democratic clubs, people will get behind you if you have the ability to be somewhat articulate, be exciting, be a hard worker. If you hook up with your local, it's not that hard to run for representative. A lot of seats go uncontested.
Disgusted with the broken state of this country every single day on live. But this is just yet another reason why. So we have somebody in the queue right now. We're going to bring him up. Mr. Parker. Parker was there. He FaceTimed me running away after this. It's pretty raw space right now, dude. I'm not going to lie. You know, the viewers have kind of like watched all of my emotions over like the course of the last hour or so. Please share with us what
I mean, basically, this is a guy who wanted to, let's be completely honest about who these guys are. They want to make money off of basically the leavings off of the conservative astroturfing, right? So hundreds of millions of dollars is pumped into conservative political content, you know, debate me bro content. These guys want to walk up to that hundreds of millions of dollars and they want to go like, I'm debating Charlie Kirk, and then do a TikTok and then basically get Democrats to start watching Charlie Kirk content for them. So they're basically, they're drafting off of the hundreds of millions of dollars of right-wing content. And what do they do with this? Do they come out there and advocate for some sort of fucking political change? No, they come out there, they get clout from pawing at Charlie Kirk for a couple months, and then they say, we need to be centrist Democrats. And they then pander to the Democratic Party, begging for their own crumbs. These guys have absolutely no value whatsoever. None. They're not even intelligent debaters.
You'd like to share?
I was going to catch him off guard. I was going to be the person that was first in line to debate him. I happened to get there a little bit late, and there was a line already there. I was 30 to 40 feet away when it happened. Immediately, I heard I'm pretty sure it was just one. I wasn't sure if it was like when it first happened. I remember telling you that. I wasn't sure what happened. I didn't hear any of the context. Everyone just started running away, and, you know, we just ran.
And this is what we've been talking about, you know, on the stream for the last hour or so. You can't claim to want to end violence, then cheer it on. You're sitting at home, you're cheering it on, you're happy, you wanted this. You're wrong. Okay? For the last year or so.
Okay. I want to say something here. I don't think it's good for people to take shots at political commentators. But I'm also not going to go up here and do this like self-important scolding of people for having their own private emotions. That's just, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, when Nancy Pelosi's husband was beaten nearly to death with a hammer, Charlie Kirk thought it was fucking hilarious. Trayvon Martin, they made fun of him. George Floyd, they made fun of him. I mean, they bought the gun used to kill Trayvon Martin, a little boy with Skittles and iced tea. They bought that gun for $250,000. Gun that killed Trayvon Martin makes $250,000 for Zimmerman. That was a little boy with Skittles and iced tea. I don't want to hear this shit. This reminds me of Matt Christman. Matt Christman has a take, and he says the best way to understand these two political parties is that there is the don't be a pussy party and the don't be an asshole party. And the Democrats, I mean, this is all this fucking loser is doing. Oh, don't be an asshole. Fuck you. Here is Charlie Kirk himself on Trayvon Martin, who was a little boy.
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin at 2 a.m. and the stand your ground law allows you to stand your ground up against people that wish you harm.
So in other words, what actually happened is Trayvon Martin went to a quarter store, a convenience store, to buy Arizona iced tea and Skittles for him and his little brother. And he was walking home in his neighborhood when George Zimmerman, a self-appointed neighborhood guardian, started following him in his truck with a gun and then called the cops. And the cops said, has he done anything? And George Zimmerman said no. And the cops were like, okay, well, we'll send somebody out to check it out. And then Zimmerman said, I'm going to follow him. And the 911 dispatcher said, please don't do that. And then George Zimmerman gets out of his car, gets out of his vehicle, walks up to Zimmerman, or excuse me, to Trayvon. Zimmerman walks up to Trayvon Martin. And then there's a physical altercation. There are no witnesses because Zimmerman shot him to death. Now, if I'm walking on the street alone at night and somebody starts cruising behind me in a car and then gets out and starts following me, you're goddamn right I'm justified if they approach me and defending myself. And if I'm shot dead, that's fucking murder. And these fuckers celebrated it because it was a little black boy. A 16-year-old black boy got murdered by a fucking creep, and these guys celebrated it and enriched the shooter, who was then acquitted. So I don't want to hear a single mumbling word about Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry. You're not allowed to cry about Charlie Kirk unless you have cried about the tens of thousands of children that have been murdered with guns in Gaza. We had a story in the New York Times of children getting sniped. Doctors saying how they were sniping children with drones and sniper rifles, and you guys didn't cry a single tear for those kids. Stop crying for Charlie Kirk. Shut the fuck up. Stay silent about this, just like you were silent about that. I don't want to hear your whining. Oh, I can't farm clout off Charlie Kirk anymore. Shut up. Stay silent. We like that.
I have been the enemy of Charlie Kirk. And
you have not been. You have been his Alan Combs. You have been his useful idiot. You have been the person who gives Charlie Kirk gravitas. You are the person who has increased his TikTok engagement. Charlie Kirk was a fucking failure until the debate perverts of TikTok made him relevant. This is fucking true. He was a grift taking money from old elderly boomer donors so they felt like the right was doing something on college campuses, and he was losing until you debate perverts pumped him up on TikTok, desperate for clout.
Here I am making myself so very clear here. I completely 110% condemn what happened to Charlie today. It is disgusting. It is dystopian. It is wrong. And if you disagree with that,
what's more dystopian? Charlie Kirk, an advocate for gun violence, dying and school shootings, dying at a place, which I'm not saying is good. I don't want people going out and shooting political commentators. I am a political commentator. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. But Charlie Kirk is the man who helped make it much greater possibility. He fought tooth and nail against reasonable gun control. I believe Utah Valley University was an open carry university. So he's the man, he's one of the men who made this type of shit more common. But I'm not going to cry tears. This is the natural consequence of the politics that he supported. I'm not going to cry tears of sorrow over that. I'm going to say, you asked for this. You said it was acceptable. You said it was the price of freedom. You paid the price.
Now a line between you and me. And I said this earlier, and I just really want to repeat it now with 50,000 people in the stream. Don't make this an issue of right versus left, okay? Right? Because inevitably, if that line that separates the people that condemn this to the people that celebrate this falls in between the right and the left, then I will agree with the right on this issue.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is fundamentally what centrist Democrats are. They are the collaborators with and the allies of the right wing. And this is a disagreement that I've had with Hasan for a long time, because these guys here, if they're willing to ignore a genocide for their clout, they can never be trusted with anything. I want you to understand this. If somebody is willing to ignore a genocide for clout, they will let anything happen to you if it advances their career. This is the biggest piece of advice I have for people. If you see somebody okay with somebody else being oppressed or treated unfairly, and they throw up their hands and they say, it's not my problem, end your friendship with that person immediately. Do not invest one more moment or dollar or effort into that person. If you know a person who will stand back and let other people be attacked unfairly, they do not deserve to be your friend. They do not deserve to have your trust. They do not deserve to be boosted by you, because when you need help, they won't be there. A friend is somebody who stands with you when the times get tough. A person who doesn't is nothing more than an acquaintance.
And I don't want to do that. So don't make that line fall in between the parties. Okay? It shouldn't be right versus...
And here's the thing. I want to say this unequivocally. I denounce the violence that was done to Charlie Kirk. I denounce it 100,000%. I don't want anybody to be harmed for their political opinions in this country. But it would be wrong of me to say that Charlie Kirk had no problem celebrating violence himself. So I'm not going to run around condemning other people. And if you saw my reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination, you saw that I didn't celebrate it. I didn't say it was a good thing. I was shocked and disturbed, as I still am. But the way that they are weaponizing this is unacceptable.
Is left, it should be humanity versus inhumanity. If you don't know...
You think Charlie Kirk was humane? You think Charlie Kirk was on the side of humanity?
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to the fallout in the wake of the assassination of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The 22-year-old man accused of assassinating Kirk is scheduled to appear in court Tuesday. Tyler Robinson was detained Thursday night after he reportedly confessed to his father, who then reached out to a youth pastor who called the U.S. Marshals. Robinson is reportedly not cooperating with investigators and is being held under special watch in the Salt Lake City jail. Charlie Kirk was fatally shot while speaking at a campus event at Utah Valley University Wednesday. Authorities are still trying to determine a motive in the killing. Tyler Robinson grew up in a deeply Republican family. Authorities say Robinson engraved messages into bullet casings with reference.
Oh no, guys, somebody says cancel me. This following since today. What a bitch.
References to various online and video game memes. Utah's Republican Governor Spencer Cox claimed Robinson had leftist ideology but did not share any evidence. There's also been speculation Robinson may have been influenced by a far-right movement known as Groypers, which is tied to the white nationalist Nick Fuentes. This is Utah Governor Cox speaking Friday.
I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here, and that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable.
While Utah Governor Spencer Cox said there's one person responsible for Charlie Kirk's killing, President Trump sent a very different message when he appeared on Fox News.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy.
This weekend, Trump called for Democratic donor George Soros to be jailed. Trump's top advisor, Stephen Miller, has also threatened to target and dismantle progressive organizations after Kirk's killing. Miller was on Fox News Friday.
The last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us. And we are going to do that.
Stephen Miller on Fox News. Supporters of Charlie Kirk have also launched sweeping campaigns to target people for making critical remarks about Kirk after his death. NPR reports at least 21 educators have already been fired, put on administrative leave, or placed under investigation by their employers. NBC News reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has urged his staff to identify any military members who mocked or condoned the killing of Kirk. For more, we're joined here in New York by Chris Hedges, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, former foreign correspondent for the New York Times for over 2 decades, an award-winning author, a regular columnist for Sheer Post, where his most recent piece is headlined "The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk." His most recent book, A Genocide Foretold, reporting on survival and resistance in occupied Palestine. Chris, welcome back to Democracy Now! Explain your headline and what your concerns are. The martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, about the horrific murder of Kirk.
Well, you saw that his murder weaponized even before the suspect was apprehended, and the quote-unquote radical left being blamed. So in every conflict that I covered, martyrs were kind of the lifeblood of violent movements. You hold up the martyr, and any shirking from purging the society through violence of those individuals or groups who are blamed for killing the martyr is a betrayal of the martyr. And we saw that happen instantly. That's how Kirk's casket goes on Air Force Two. He's awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The flags are half. I mean, and that's only accelerated. He comes out of the Christian nationalist movement, which I wrote about a decade ago in my book, American Fascist, The Christian Right and the War in America. It's a movement I know very well. I'm also a seminary graduate. And I think we've reached a very frightening turning point. I think that we've already seen an assault on civil liberties, on institutions, universities, the media that are tasked with maintaining an open society. That will now be accelerated. I don't take any of this rhetoric lightly. I look at it as three phases. First, we saw those who protested the genocide attacked as anti-Semites, although a significant percentage, 20-30%, were probably Jewish. That was a way to shut down free speech. Then we saw undocumented workers being targeted and demonized as criminals and all this kind of stuff as a way to build Trump's version of the brown shirts, this rogue paramilitary group, ICE.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hedges is right.
All of these detention centers, I mean, the budget is now larger than all federal law enforcement agencies combined, ICE. These detention centers are not going to be exclusively for undocumented workers. And now we're seeing the radical left demonized to shut down individuals and organizations that dissent from the rapid consolidation of this police state or authoritarian state.
I want to go back to President Trump. This is the president speaking in Morristown, New Jersey on the tarmac Sunday before boarding Air Force One.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
So that's President Trump before there was any evidence revealed. After Utah Governor Cox says we have to be very clear this is the work of one person. I mean, for example, when Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma.
Guys, I want you to show us, guys, I think we proved the Republicans are hypocrites. Seems that if you pretend to be a free speech advocate, you should always oppose anyone getting fired over a controversial tweet. Matt Walsh, 2016. It is good that these people lose their jobs. It is good that they are shamed and humiliated and must live with the repercussions for the rest of their lives. It's good they wake up every day until they die wishing they had said what they said. You cannot have a civilized and decent society unless there are severe social consequences for people who publicly express sentiments like these. These people are barbarians, savages, and should be treated as such. Free speech does not mean that we should act with anything but revulsion and disgust to people who say revolting and disgusting things. Wait a minute. I think I've proved that these right-wingers are hypocrites. We have proven without a doubt that they're contradicting themselves and they are hypocritical. We have won the logical syllogism. Okay, we got it. 5th time's the charm. The logical syllogism has been established. We have done it. We have proven them hypocrites. We have defeated them in the marketplace of ideas. Our logic is sound. We have won. Political power, please. Political power, please. We proved you're a hypocrite. Oh, that's not how it works. They could just say one thing and do another. They can lie. They can treat us unfairly and arbitrarily. Oh, damn.
a city building and killed over 160 people. People didn't say they're going to go after white Christian men. But what about what Trump, what Stephen Miller is doing and saying they're going after leftist organizations? They're talking about flag burning.
Yeah. When was the last flag burning? I don't remember one. Well, it's all fictitious. They've already started going after these organizations, but this is...
Wait, they destroyed the evidence? Tyler Robinson left note vowing to take out Charlie Kirk. FBI said the FBI had forensic evidence of the note that it has since been destroyed. And it was kept in the home of the suspect and his alleged transgender partner, Patel said, adding that investigators confirm what the note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI. Cox said that the suspect's partner was transgender. However, authorities have not said whether it's relevant as they investigate Robinson's possible motive. There was clearly leftist ideology. When I was in law school, chat, a professor once told me something that was very, 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 very useful. He said, whenever somebody's making an argument and they say clearly or obviously, that argument is incredibly important for their perspective, but they have no evidence to support it. So they're trying to take a leap over it very quickly. And they're trying to make it sound like you're being unreasonable if you're like, wait a minute. Can you show me why it's clearly leftist ideology? They want to make you look like you are being intransigent, annoying, pedantic. So they will use the phrase clearly. Anytime someone uses the phrase clearly, that should put up your fucking radar dish. And if they don't immediately offer a bunch of evidence to back that clearly up, you need to stop everything and drill down on that statement because it's the weak point of their argument. Hey man, do you have any evidence for this? What's the counter argument to that? The counter argument is if you use clearly or obviously, then you should put evidence after that. But it is a big red flag, klaxon sound. Whenever somebody says clearly, it's not clear.
Has given them a green light to lift all constraints. And we've seen, a bill was the Florida, what was his name, Best or Most, I don't remember this, in the House, where groups that supposedly provide material support to terrorism can have their citizenship revoked. Remember Tom Cotton, right after 9/11, wanted to prosecute or go after mainstream media organizations, AP, CNN, the New York Times, for using pictures, graphic pictures from October 7th and from the genocide. So the process has already begun.
So it took you going to law school to figure that out? Huh? Honestly, I might just ban you for having the stupidest question I've ever seen. I think that's just like, I think you should get 24 hours. Where the fuck are you? Hold on. So many chats. Where is he at? Where is he at? He added me too. Here, can have a day. My general feeling is that you should always share credit whenever you have something that's really insightful because it will help other people learn it better. Why is there no VOD of this stream? Are you stupid? Are you fucking stupid? Do you not see the title? It's the next topic we're going to talk about. Elon Musk is targeting Hasan. Conservative. This isn't even a leftist shooter. And they're trying to get us all banned and deplatformed. It's not even a leftist shooter. It's not even a leftist shooter. There's not even a fucking scrap of evidence. What's taking so long? They destroyed the note he wrote. Can you imagine what that note says? Do you think it has any leftism in it?
Universities such as Columbia have already capitulated, and CBS is about to be turned over to a rabid Zionist and Bari Weiss, if everything goes through. We've already seen that assault, but now in the name of...
By the way, chat, in case you don't know, I'm just going to tell you this, and if you're a leftist who disagrees, wake the fuck up, you're stupid. Donald Trump is a fascist, and he's doing a fascist takeover of the United States of America. And that's not hyperbole. Like, we're in trouble. I don't know what else to say. Like, this is not like, oh, haha, libs are overreacting. No, it's happening. They are seizing control of every part of American society. And they just funded the Gestapo, and they called it ICE. And they're building concentration camps. And they're grabbing control of our media institutions. And they're grabbing control of universities. And they're gerrymandering the fuck out of Congress. They're probably going to try to rig elections. Like that's it. The FBI is watching your Charlie Kirk posts. Period.
The martyr, Charlie Kirk, I think that they will carry out activities that will essentially, in the end, and look to Miller, because Stephen Miller's the one who's kind of organizing all of this, just as he has with the assault on undocumented workers.
And of course, like every other fascist takeover, they're going to start with the only people that are speaking the truth about it and calling for people to resist and organizing resistance, and that is the left. That is the socialist left. That's the only, they're going to start off with us. That's Mamdani in New York City. That's Hasan online. And the mainstream media is going to capitulate completely. They already are. Corporate America has already capitulated. All the billionaires are already capitulating. They already had their industrialists, the German industrialist meeting has already happened in America. Intel gave 10% of ownership of the company without a peep. You guys know it's over, right?
On immigrants, they will begin to shut down organizations. I'm sure they're not very happy with Democracy Now. They essentially intend to create a closed society, a police state, an authoritarian state, under the rubric with the
Kirk himself would not approve of this behavior. Yes, he did. He set up a website called Professor Watch, which was like, anytime there was a professor you think might be a leftist, come report them on a list.
Of ideology of what I call Christian fascism. I mean, I label these Christian nationalists as heretics.
Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale capitalized on Kirk's death to advocate for a takedown of the red-green alliance of communists and Islamists who he claims have united to destroy Western civilization. He proposes an app where citizens can upload pictures of crime and homelessness in exchange for property tax rebates.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of lunacy, it's the old, the Vatican and the Masons and the communists, where these subterranean dark groups all come together. The kind of idea that there's a left, far left, radical left alliance with Islam is insane. It's absurd. But we've left the rational universe for one of magical thinking.
You quote in your piece Elon Musk, who wrote on X, "If they won't leave us in peace, then our choice is to fight or die."
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things. All this came out on my Substack, chrishedges.substack.com. So I found the quote.
Do you feel like your streaming days on here are numbered, or Hasan's? I would say in general, it's not so much that I'm worried about myself in particular. I consider myself more of a canary in the coal mine. And what I will say this is what I've always predicted is coming true, which is very unfortunate, which is the centrists are trying to unite with the fascists to take out the left. They're trying, and this is what happens. Under fascism, centrists and liberals, to curry favor with the fascists, will betray the left. They do it almost every time. And so you're going to see stuff like Destiny and all these kind of like formally Democrat. I'm so Democrat because I hate the Republicans. They're going to be working overtime with Tom Cotton and these kind of people. And the only way to resist Donald Trump will be through a socialist. And basically liberals don't believe, they believe in the status quo. And so they're going to protect the status quo by allying with Donald Trump.
And again, remember, this was before the suspect had been apprehended. There was almost a giddiness to it. I'm certainly certain that there were people who were upset about his death, but Bannon and others, there was almost an excitement about launching, the war's already been launched, but really prosecuting this war on what's left of our anemic institutions tasked with defending an open society.
You wrote in your piece, Kirk's killing is a harbinger of full-scale social disintegration. His murders, given the movement he represented, grounded in Christian nationalism, a martyr. Martyrs are the lifeblood of violent movements. Any flinching over the use of violence, any talk of compassion or understanding, any effort to mediate or discuss is a betrayal of the martyr and the cause the martyr died defending.
Yeah, and from the moment he was killed, that was essentially the role that he was given in terms of perpetuating this assault. Yeah.
Can you talk about what happened over the weekend at a vigil for Charlie Kirk in Huntington Beach, California, when the chant broke out, "White man, fight back"? The intersection of white supremacy and Christian nationalism that Charlie Kirk represented. Again, we talk about this as he was horrifically assassinated this past week.
Yeah, well, that hyper-masculinity is key to the movement. And there's a great work by, I think, Thessalwade called Male Fantasies, where he talks about the importance of hyper-masculinity to fascist movements. And Charlie Kirk, he very much pushed this. He pushed Trump, for instance. He was one of the principal agents of the Trump cult, fostering the Trump cult. And that hyper-masculinity is very much part of the Christian right. When I did my book, you would actually see pictures of kind of a very muscular Jesus. They embraced the jihad or the crusade against Muslims. These were during the wars in Iraq, writing Bible verses on guns and this kind of stuff. But that hyper-masculinity is key, and it appeals to disenfranchised white males. I mean, most of the country at this point, especially young people, are disenfranchised, but it plays very well to white males.
Before we go, you sat here watching Dr. Sukkot, who is the head of nursing in Gaza at Nasser Hospital, extremely gaunt. Our radio audience couldn't see that. And you talked with me at the break about you having been a reporter in Salvador for the New York Times and who you met there.
Not the Times. But I wasn't with the New York Times in Salvador, but I was there for 5 years, and I shared my apartment with one of the founders of Medicine du Monde, Alina Margolis. She was in the Warsaw Ghetto. She was married to Mark Edelman, who was the deputy commander of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And every story she told me about the Warsaw Ghetto fits at this point with Gaza, including the forced starvation and baiting people in the ghetto to get on the transports by giving them 2 kilos of bread and marmalade, which is exactly, they're using food, paltry amounts of food, as a bait to lure starving Palestinians to the south of Gaza and putting them into these concentration camps.
Chris Hedges, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, award-winning author and activist, a regular columnist for ScheerPost. His most recent piece is headlined, "The Martyred."
I think the reason why we are in the position that we're in, the reason why we are failing, the reason why we have been defeated is too many people who consider themselves progressive were willing to sell out everything they believed for short-term tactical ideas. And we have now trained people who are supposed to be compassionate, supposed to be logical, supposed to be principled, to betray each other for tactical advantage.
Of Charlie Kirk, his most recent book, A Genocide Foretold, reporting on survival and resistance in occupied Palestine. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube.
All right, chat. This next story is almost, it's so comical. Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and you know what's happening? Elon Musk. I don't know what else to say. Elon Musk is obsessing over Hasan as we speak. There is absolutely no evidence that the shooter was a leftist at all. They have a note he wrote. They destroyed it. Bro, also the left has no ability to agree to disagree on anything and instead build coalition. What are you talking about? 3 weeks ago, people were trying to cancel me. People were trying to cancel me. People were running around about how I'm bad because of a clip that was taken out of context of me reacting to Benjamin Netanyahu saying Palestinian nation is not real. People were trying to cancel me. They were eager. The moment they had something that they could use that was out of context, that was 11-month old, they were eager to throw me under the bus. And what would that have done? What would throwing me under the bus have done? Do you think these people would have suddenly, all of you would have left and found another stream or something? It would have just gone away. Another leftist taken down, gone away. People are trying to say that if somebody was a veteran, you could never allow them to be on the left. What are you talking about? We have all sorts of anarchist, individualist, lifestyleism shot through the entire fucking group. We have a fascist country with 175 million to the brown shirts, and people are like, well, you know how to use a gun? That's fascist. We're cooked. Nick Fuentes replied to Hasan, ratio him with this clip. Well, I don't know where he replied to Hasan at, so you're giving me a clip to post to where? So Stephen Miller and... So thanks for the quest. Stephen Miller and JD Vance are now hosting Charlie Kirk's show.
Give me the... That's right. He was everybody's supporter, enthusiast. He made all of us better every... The memory that I keep, not a single memory, it's a period of a couple months after we won the election. And Charlie was in the camp, and from dawn till dusk, volunteering his time to get into the weeds, the nitty-gritty of government. And he was so damn excited. I mean, it really hurts to think about it right now. He was so excited about all of us being here. And we would be talking about every executive order, every new regulation, every new policy plan. It was such a thrill for me to get to spend a few months of my life, because, he came from the nonprofit, the activist world. I came from the government world. And in this transition, to be able to work hand in hand, take all of his ideas from being the leader of TPUSA, spending time with college students, spending time with activists, and then be able to be with us at the transition to plan out the next step of our government. That was an experience for which I will always be grateful. And the last thing I'll say is that, to my earlier point, Charlie would send me messages all the time, just saying, great work, or here's a new idea, or here's what I think will take this to the next level. And I took them all to heart. And God, I just love the man so much.
He was our biggest supporter, yeah. Stephen, but he was also, if he disagreed...
I love how their audio is completely cooked. This is how incompetent these fuckers are. Their audio is completely cooked. $100 million, they can't set up a microphone.
Figure out how to get us to get where he wanted. Yes. Always such a leader. Absolutely right. The darkest moment, Charlie, was, don't let him get to you. Keep on fighting. Keep on going. You're absolutely right. So I want to be mindful of a lot of people are very worried about how we got here in the first place. And you have the crazies on the far left who are saying, oh, Stephen Miller and JD Vance, they're going to go after constitutionally protected speech. No, we're going to go after the NGO network foments, facilitates, and engages in violence. That's not okay. Violence is not okay in our system, and we want to make it less likely that that happens. Walk me through.
I just want to pause it here for a second and just say that Barack Obama and Joe Biden basically allowed complete consolidation of local news in the hands of the Sinclair network. They allowed Fox News to completely skate after spreading nonstop lies and propaganda about the 2020 election. And they have allowed AIPAC and foreign lobby groups and corporate lobby groups to just operate with complete impunity, spreading lies, consolidation of talk radio into iHeart Media. They did absolutely nothing to prevent the accumulation of power by right-wing oligarchs. And now the Republicans are coming in promising to weaponize and politicize the government. Everything they said that Joe Biden was doing was a lie, because Joe Biden wasn't doing anything because he's a cowardly ass bitch. They're now going to do the Israeli playbook. I can't believe he's wearing eyeliner.
Through at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness?
So it's an excellent question. I said this before, and but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him, which is that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence. And I will write those.
Show the text, man. Show it. Show the message. Show it.
Onto my heart, and I will carry them out.
Liar.
People ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now. It's just something people say. I mean, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And
I don't think this man knows how to feel any emotions. I don't believe you.
The thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion. But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So,
you've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, We are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Thank you, Stephen. Don't go away. I'll be joined by a guest of Friends just in a few seconds. See you soon.
By the way, no evidence whatsoever that this guy was involved in any organization at all. All that's happening here is there's not even evidence that this guy is a fucking right-winger or a left-winger. There's none, which is exactly what I said on Friday. And they're just going to use Charlie's death, use it on a completely irrelevant shit. There was no DSA connection. There was no PSL connection. There was no, I mean, I'm not even aware of it being connected to any doxing website. The guy was at a public event at a public university that it was advertised. He wasn't assassinated in his home. What are they talking about? I've been talking about Hearst Vessel. I thought that the firefighter that was killed when there was the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, I thought that was going to be the Hearst Vessel. And they started practicing it when they brought his like firefighter coat to the RNC. But it's pretty clear that they're going to be trying to use Charlie Kirk as the Hearst Vessel. I've been talking about this for a year, which is why I guess other content creators started using it like they know Nazi German history when they got sent a Wikipedia page from one of my chatters.
Why wouldn't he see him? Why wouldn't he see the person who's in the chat before talking about war policy?
Just so we're
That's what most Americans aren't, and that's the reality.
Wrong. Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah, just because you have a bunch of people here saying that doesn't mean that's the reality.
Let me prove it to you. Donald Trump ran on a pledge to...
No,
yes or no. He won a popular vote. The vast majority of people voted knowing that the Department of Education was going to get eliminated.
If you truly believe...
By the way, chat, notice, I mean, Charlie, I gotta say, Charlie is completely right on how you should exercise power. If you've run for something, you should implement it. You shouldn't then go like, well, I don't know. What are the polls saying? No, if you ran on a thing, you should do the fucking thing. The Democrats, whenever they win power, they're like, thank you for this supermajority. Now, Republicans, will you write all the laws? Oh, will you work with us? We need Republican votes. Oh, it's been 2 years. We lost our supermajority. Oh, no!
Believe that the vast majority of people were educated enough about the fact.
I feel a lot of despair in this moment. Have we already lost? You have never lost. While you draw breath, hope exists. But I will say this, that there is no currently constituted left-wing movement that is sufficiently organized, aware, and militant to resist what's coming. We can't even get people to say the Democratic Party is a lost cause. Do you think these people are going to be resisting anything?
Well, Donald Trump's opinion
voters
on the
aren't very
Department
smart. Now that's what we're going after.
Simply just responding to what you said.
Insult
is that
the voters. They don't know.
No, I know a lot of people that voted for Trump who had absolutely no idea that he was going to defund the. And of course, this is just an anecdote, but I know that this is the truth. Not everybody, when they vote, looks at every single little thing and every little aspect.
Nation, the Charlie Kirk Show.
Welcome back. This is Vice President of these United States, J.D. Vance, your host for today's Charlie Kirk Show.
It sounds like his mic is not on and they're picking up on another mic.
We were lucky enough to call Charlie their friend. I have Taylor Budowich, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Kaylin Dorr in the middle is the White House Deputy Communications Director. And Andrew Colvett is Charlie's longtime friend and the executive producer of this show. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for being a dear friend to Charlie. And I thought what I'd start with is, we all knew Charlie the man, not just Charlie the personality or Charlie the celebrity or Charlie the guy who did debates on college campuses. I want to start with you, Taylor. What's something that you wish people knew about Charlie that they don't if they just watch his clips on X or YouTube or wherever?
With Charlie, what you see is what you get, and I think that was true even from my first interactions with him on the 2020 presidential campaign. We'd always be doing these fundraisers. Don Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, who was the Trump Victory Finance Chair, would host these big fundraising events. Charlie was always the first one to show up. And we would do these team events where we make calls all day. And you'd always want Charlie on your team because the guy would get there first, make as many calls.
I think generally politically, we've got to figure out how to discipline the Democratic Party into being a resistance opposition party and win at least one chamber in Congress in the midterms. And I don't know that either one of those things is plausible. I mean, I think Trump is really unpopular. But I don't know that the Democratic Party actually wants to resist Trump.
Fundraiser that we had, we have the not just the privilege of being Charlie's friend, but seeing what he's built through Turning Point. And it became personal to me when my sister, who
one of the few silver linings I take away is that these people are always so intrinsically stupid and incompetent. If there was any administration fuck up a fascist takeover handed them on a silver platter, it's the Trump administration. Oh my lord, we're cooked. Oh my lord, you think fascists were competent in the 30s? You think Mussolini and Hitler were competent? They were incredibly incompetent. They were dumb as fuck. They put nonstop idiots in power. They were a mega incompetent. You know what happens when a fascist is incompetent? They use violence.
From California, and is trying to find her way politically, and said, I want to get involved. And we have the benefit of we can go to any event, any rally, any intimate setting. And I said, you know what? There's the young women's event that he hosts in Dallas. I said, how about we go to Dallas? And one of the reasons why Charlie's events, I think, have been so successful, and why this organization has been so successful, is he makes these events approachable to the person that hasn't done politics before, hasn't been engaged, is curious and thinks maybe something is going wrong with the country, maybe that there's a way to get involved, not the big rallies, that's not, standing in lines for a long time, and for my sister, it was for a conference room of girls listening to Taylor Swift music during breaks, and kind of having approachable, but then also talking about life, talking about family, talking about, at this event, just relationships, and starting to build a path for young people that is both approachable but informed and thoughtful. And so for me, it was an ability and an opportunity for me to share with my sister something that I get to experience all the time. And I think it was something that she really appreciated, and I know millions of young people are appreciating, and by the looks of the signups pretty good, and they're going to appreciate it a lot more.
We'll talk about that, Andrew. So it sounds like there's been this blowout of interest in Turning Points USA and the mission. One of the things I really hope is that this assassin didn't silence Charlie's movement, and I think that's the best way for us to honor him, is to keep it going. You're one of the critical people at TPUSA. Tell us a little bit about Charlie, but also about what you've seen in the wake of Charlie's assassination.
To put things in perspective, there are, I guess, currently 900 official chapters.
I don't think any of their microphones are connected to the audio.
900, 920, give or take. Kids graduate, you got to kind of rebuild a few chapters. That's about what you're going to get to. And we have 1,200 high school chapters, which was our big new.
I keep hearing about liberals are in a bubble. They don't know what's coming. But nearly half of young people don't know who Charlie Kirk was, and the majority of the rest didn't like him. Maybe liberals aren't the one in the bubble. I mean, this guy's a fucking dipshit centrist. Hasan Piker was known by 40-some%. I mean, this poll basically shows that Charlie Kirk was very, very, supremely unpopular. He was
we were really proud.
That's changed, that's for sure.
The high school chapters eclipsed college chapters, because we were known as the college thing. And so there's about 23,000 high schools in America, 24,000. And I'll never forget this. This is a really funny moment a couple weeks ago in Aspen. And Charlie was like, we are going to have a Club America, which is the high school brand, on all 23,000. He didn't know the number. This is actually part of the story. We're going to have it on every high school campus in America. And his, the team is going, oh my gosh. And Charlie goes, we're going to have 35,000 high school chapters. And, he just threw out this big, stretch goal, and we're like, oh, Charlie, and the whole team's freaking out because that's a huge lift. And he goes, they have to be on every single high school campus. And then I'm sitting next to him, I look at it, and I Google it, and it's like, there's 23,000 high schools in America, Charlie. He goes, oh, okay, 23,000, we're going to be on every single one. And then the team got him eventually to say, well, okay, the big stretch goal is 10,000. And it was amazing because now I tweeted out, and it's I don't know, like 10 million views or something. I think it made people feel good because we now have 37,000 applications to start chapters around the country. And, it almost brings a tear to your eye because that moment is like, we all remember, the whole team, we were all in a ballroom going through a presentation together, and he was adamant. We are going to be on every high school in America, and it's going to be proven right.
Well, he was, in a lot of ways, as you guys know, the ultimate. He saw in youth a true friend in that way. And I remember, one particularly difficult moment, probably the hardest moment on the campaign trail for me, We had an event in Arizona, I believe with a bunch of faith leaders, and it was the one time on the entire national campaign where I gave my chief of staff a hug and apologized to him because I was just I hadn't seen the kids in 7 days. I was particularly cranky. And I get to this event, I'm just kind of like, man, come on, we got to do this again. And Charlie comes back and gives me a hug. And he's like, your kids, they love you. And they're going to realize eventually why this was so important to do this. And that kind of gave me this sense of, all right, my head's back in the game. And that was what Charlie was always good at, setting ridiculous objectives, but finding some way to motivate people to go after it, even though it was, it seemed unattainable until you got a little Charlie Kirk pep talk. Kaylin, what was your, what's the thing you miss the most about Charlie? What do you think is the most difficult part of replacing the great Charlie Kirk?
You mentioned him being everyone's best cheerleader, and the last time I saw him, I have a lot of peace in my heart because I had a very good interaction with him, as we always do. I was wandering the hallways of the EOB, and I must have had a horrible look on my face. And he literally, he jumped down the stairs, he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "What's going on?" I just mentioned, "Man, my baby's 6 months old. We are going through it. We are really I'm struggling, man." And he sat there and he prayed for me in the halls of the EOB for quite a bit of time. And he didn't need to do that, right? It could have been a quick check-in. And I asked him, I said, "How do you do it? How are you doing it? You're killing it. You're a great dad. You guys are doing an amazing job at Turning Point. I think you're doing everything you can." And he looks at me and says, "I have a great team." And I laughed and I said, "Cool. So you're part of the team." And I know that he would be very excited to see all the work that we have going on here in the administration, but also all the testimonials. I mean, I don't know how the guy had the bandwidth. The sheer volume of people whose lives he touched that we're just now discovering is out of control. And I think, growing up, we didn't have a Turning Point. We didn't have a Charlie. We didn't have these kind of people in our lives who dedicated and put in the blood, sweat, and tears to go make sure that this was a thing that existed for people like us. And, the lasting message is that, and I think I've said this at Turning Point events before, is that the left wins, the enemy, they win when you feel alone and when you feel like you're the only one who thinks, eats, prays, breathes, lives the way that you do. And Charlie was so great at connecting those dots and connecting human beings. I mean, our friendships are all stronger because of him with one another, but people, I've never met Andrew, but I know I've talked to him through Charlie for years.
Yep.
And he was so great at doing that. And so I think it's our mission to go out there and embolden young conservatives, young Christians, most importantly, to go out there and continue to do his work, because it's exactly what he would want. He would want you to go find 5 people who don't believe in Jesus that day and give them, a good lecturing and walk them through everything in a way that is respectful and is, grounded in fact. And I don't know how we replace that, but I think the energy that I'm seeing amongst people is just palpable. It's insane.
Yeah, Caitlin, there was this incredible hope at the core of Charlie's character that you could solve so many problems.
What is he like? I'm sorry, Chad, about being muted. What is he like about Jesus Christ? What's his favorite Jesus Christ quote? Christian fascist is crazy, man.
Just by communicating with. If he wanted to introduce somebody to God, he would just go and talk to them. If he wanted to introduce them to a new idea, he would just go and talk to them. And it's what makes this particularly tragic, is that he was doing the very thing that he loved, the very thing that led him to inspire so many people, and that's when they tried to cut him down. At his strongest, doing the most important thing that he was doing for our country. Taylor, you mentioned his sister, or your sister, going to a Turning Points event. And the thing about Charlie, and this is, again, something I don't know that people fully appreciate unless you know him particularly well, is he was such a bright guy, right? He read theology, and he read political philosophy, and he knew all these crazy citations, and he knew every Bible verse for every particular case, or he knew something that was written by some 15th century political philosopher. You're like, Charlie, where the hell did you get that from? He's like, I just read a lot of books. But he could also deal with people at the level who didn't know anything about politics, who were curious, who loved their country, they wanted to make it better. Taylor, talk a little bit about that, because Taylor, those of you who don't know, is the lead in our communication shop here in the White House. He knows more about talking to people than pretty much anybody in the White House, or at least that's what you're supposed to know more than anybody else about. Talk about Charlie, the communicator, because that's one of the things that made him who he was.
That I'm going to tie 2 things that they said together, because Kaylin's right. We didn't have a Charlie Kirk. Growing up, we had Barry Goldwater and Reagan, 2 guys that we barely were alive to know or,
right.
or overlap with. The future has Charlie Kirk. And, for Wednesday, Charlie Kirk was a young man inspiring young people. After he was killed, he has become a titan whose inspiration will move through eternity, inspiring millions of people for decades to come. And he does it through both the understanding of biblical terms. I mean, I spent, I'm sure like a lot of people this weekend, spent my weekend scrolling.
Hand-waving religion without actually saying it. This is such Funko Pop Christianity. Funko Pop Christianity, where it's nothing more than idolatry.
Forgets what he says next. And he says, prostitute, go on, sin no more. And Charlie understood both the compassion of the Bible, but the honesty and truth-telling of the Bible. That is what I think has been missing in our political discourse, that you don't have to be nasty, you can be compassionate, but you should tell the truth. And so the future of the political movement is going to be informed by young people brave and courageous enough to tell the truth, but compassionate enough to understand the suffering of those around them. And that's Charlie Kirk.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing all those stories, for sharing your time, for talking about Charlie. After the break, I'll be...
I mean, was this, like, honest to God? I don't know. What do you even say to this? What do you even say? Like, we are in, I think one of the reasons that I'm feeling so quiet today, because it's like, I hate being right so fucking much, man. I hate being right so fucking much. I called all of this. I've been trying to explain things. I've been trying to make arguments. I've been trying to present the evidence for years and years and years and years and years. And nobody wants to do anything. And we just fell ass backwards into fascism because billionaires at least slung around money. The distracted bodyguard looking at his watch is sending me. The distracted bodyguard looking at his watch. Oh, God, dude. Maybe you should be scanning the rooftops, man. I'm moderate, and the chat is pushing me so far right. All right, let's find out. Let's find out. I can't wait to see all the moderation I'm going to find. You made a brand new account. So this is an account that's like months old. Centrist, by the way. Find out. Why are they taking so many breaks? What are they running ads? Like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm centrist, brand new account. First thing I do is follow Hasan. I have a feeling that you're lying. I have a feeling you're fucking lying. Your actual favorite channel is Ship. Most wins and eliminations on Fortnite. Or is this like a bot account? Like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and you can go ahead and ban that guy for making a fake account. You can go ahead and ban that guy for making a fake, lying, making an alt. Get that fuck out of here. All this is making me so scared. I'm actively looking for ways to leave the US, but our financial situation is so bad that I don't know if I could afford it. In addition, I don't even know if other countries will take anyone from the US as refugees or asylum seekers. I'm scared and don't know what to do. I mean, personally, I've seen people go to China, for example, as English language speakers, although I feel like that's about to be a little bit of a flooded market.
It can be.
Hello, everyone. Vice President J.D. Vance here. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. So I am moonlighting as a radio host today, of course, in honor of my dear friend Charlie. And, I wanted to be like Marco Rubio. I wanted to add an extra radio host and vice president here in the West Wing, here in the White House complex. But I have another person here who wears many hats and is one of the most gifted communicators I've ever seen, right up there with the great Charlie Kirk. I'm glad to be joined by Carolyn Levitt, our press secretary. Carolyn, so good to see you.
Very kind. I appreciate your saying that.
So why don't you kick it off and tell us a little bit. So those who don't know who are listening or watching, you actually were involved with TPUSA very early on when you were in college. Tell me about that experience and about getting to know Charlie Kirk through that forum.
Well, I'm a Gen Z conservative, so I was really raised within the...
You know how they say that Gen Z ages, but like, holy fuck, I thought she was like 40. I thought she was my age. I was gonna go and talk to her about the Goonies and shit. Hey, Caroline, remember when we used to watch the Goonies on Betamax tapes? Jesus Christ, you look terrible. Ma'am, wear some sunscreen.
Inspiring to me as a young conservative woman. And then I got to know him personally when I decided to run for Congress, and he was a tremendous supporter and friend.
Am I thinking of leaving the U.S.? No, not at all, chat. Not at all.
Did you learn anything particular about the way that Charlie Kirk... What I always appreciated is that though he was very smart, and though you see all these clips of him owning people or of him getting the better of somebody in a debate, if you watched a full Charlie Kirk rally and all of the Q&A, and I was just talking with Andrew about this off camera, 90% of it is Charlie being compassionate and offering.
Actually, what it is Charlie Kirk gets a topic brought up, and then he counters with a question of his own, and he goes down his dialogue tree on the question. It's the same shit every time. So if somebody's like, what's going on in Gaza is a genocide, he'll say, does Israel have a right to exist? If somebody says trans rights, are human rights, he'll say, what is a woman? If somebody says trickle-down economics doesn't work, he'll be like, why don't people have the right to keep the money they earn? Like, it's all fucking dialogue tree bullshit. He has never once engaged in a thoughtful conversation. And it makes sense. He doesn't have a college education, let alone any expertise in debate.
Moral support to people. What do you take from Charlie Kirk, the communicator?
So many things just by watching him and by
Okay,
being
this is boring as fuck, guys. Fuck this. This is too boring for me. You would think like, wow, one of the most consequential political assassinations of a decade, and the vice president is hosting Charlie Kirk's show, and it's like fucking boring. No wonder they need $100 million. All right, Hasan wrote an article wrote an op-ed piece to the New York Times about Charlie Kirk. Can I also make fun of Bad Empanada for a second? Bad Empanada is probably one of the biggest crash out examples of hilariously contradictory man of all time. This is a guy, Bad Empanada, has been going around saying like, guns are everywhere in America. How come none of these big Zionists nothing ever happens to them? And then he says, destroy DSA, right? He says, don't organize the DSA. The DSA is bad. His critiques of the DSA are the kind of critiques you get if you have never participated in DSA at all, and you've only looked at Twitter. And then Charlie Kirk gets taken out, and his video is like, you guys need to organize out. This is adventurism. This is like, he goes completely back on everything he says. He says, you guys need to, you're treating politics like a child. And it's like, bro, that's you. The calls from coming from inside the house. The backpedaling was insane. He had a hutch watching Hasan at a protest, but yeah, now he's like, no, guys, you need to go outside and organize. And it's like, bro, your last video was destroy the DSA. Embarrassing. And of course, remember, he is a white Australian living in Argentina, but he makes English language YouTube videos for Americans and gets paid in American dollars and then converts American dollars to Argentinian pesos, which is another way of saying he lives off of imperial super profits. At least I'm paying fucking like American workers American wages. When somebody brings DoorDash to my door, at least I'm paying a tip in American dollars to an American worker, right? He takes American super profits and then converts it to Argentinian pesos and is paying like third worker. You think he gives his third world workers like a bonus?
So I'm just
Probably
going
the most insufferable content creator now, unfortunately, whose videos, his arguments don't even make sense anymore. They're so contradictory. How do you know he doesn't transact in Bitcoin? Because he makes his money from YouTube, dumb fuck.
Go through the New York Times op-ed that I wrote because I sought to address some of these issues using the format that was given to me. Obviously, there was a lot of editorial changes that were made in the process. This is the op-ed that I wrote. And then there's also another interview that I conducted. So this is two different.
Is this the roommate's Twitch account? Honestly, all I can say is, if this is the roommate's Twitch account, I'm not going to show it on stream because I can't confirm that.
Different parts of the New York Times, but we'll start out with the op-ed. Op-ed title, I was supposed to debate Charlie Kirk. Here's what I would have said. Mr. Piker hosts a streaming show on the Twitch platform covering politics and pop culture. Okay. In less than 2 weeks, I was supposed to debate Charlie Kirk. The event was scheduled for September 25th at Dartmouth College, and it was meant to be a wide-ranging conversation about American politics focused on the views of young voters. But on Wednesday, tragedy intervened. The entire country now knows.
Empanada isn't consistent. If he hates American leftists so much, he should be fanning the flames of fascism as a self-destruction of all of us. And why is he condemning the assassination of Charlie Kirk? I thought that's what he said should happen. He was saying about how guns are all over the place. Like, he was saying that the other day. Like, what is he talking about? Caroline Levitt is 28. Her husband is 60.
Knows the story. Mr. Kirk was fatally shot while speaking at a university campus in Utah. Late Thursday night, an arrest was made in the case. I found out that Mr. Kirk had been killed while I was live streaming.
Also, like, as I've said, and I'll say it a million times, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or the killing of Charlie Kirk, wasn't even a political assassination. Can I show you what I posted on TikTok as I was after stream? I posted a TikTok chat, and this is my general feeling. It doesn't have that many views, but it is probably true.
I spent 9 hours on stream today looking into the Charlie Kirk shooter now that he has been arrested and detained. And I have to say, I feel like I know less than when I started.
And it made me kind of go into a deep dive on the entire concept of the nihilistic online culture that we have now created, where I thought initially that the shooter would clearly be motivated by politics. I'm a millennial, and so I interpret politics through the lens.
And here's the thing that's really funny. It's because, by the way, this is a shitty fucking iPhone. Shitty iPhone. And then Vio figures out I'm recording a TikTok roughly around this.
Of movements and ideologies and goals, and seeing Charlie Kirk as a avatar for the fascist right, for the Trumpian right. And I thought that the main suspects to target Charlie Kirk would probably actually be even further right groups like Nicholas Fuentes and the Groypers. And that doesn't seem to be the case. And it also doesn't seem to be the case that he was a left-winger or a Democrat or a socialist or an anarchist. It just seems like he was generally apolitical. And maybe he didn't like Charlie Kirk because he had bad vibes. And so for me, that was really highly unsatisfying. Is that really the case? Is it just that this was a 22-year-old who felt aimless, rudderless in life? He grabbed his dad's gun
Feed me.
And he went to shoot Charlie Kirk because he thought that he would get notoriety, in the same vein as so many mass shooters who have done school shootings over the past decades. Is this the world we live in, where nihilistic young men take the black pill and just grab any random attempt to gain notoriety by shooting people who have prominence, whether it's celebrities, whether it's politicians, whether it's shooting up a school? And how the hell do we deal with that? I spent 9 hours.
Yeah, this is what we saw, chat. Here I am talking about very serious topics, incredibly serious topics. So Elon Musk has been obsessed with Hasan ever since Elon Musk's baby mama went on Hasan's stream years ago. Elon Musk has been seething about Hasan. And so this morning, Elon Musk has basically tried to, he's adding, this is real, he's adding Jeff Bezos. There you go. I figured it out. Paging Jeff Bezos. Since Hasan wants to claim that the clip in which he holds his 10Ks of Twitch followers to go murder people was out of context, I just want to remind everyone that Hasan called for the assassination of Tom Cotton to his roughly 1 million followers. Bitch, this was on Twitter. Why are you paging Jeff Bezos? It was on Twitter. Why are you paging Jeff? It's on Twitter. I mean, leaving aside that it was a meme, right after Tom Cotton said, I encourage people who get stuck behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic, take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way, which is a direct call for violence. If somebody's blocking traffic, you don't have the right to harm them or do anything. You don't have the right to self-help if somebody blocks traffic. What the fuck are you talking about? You call the traffic authorities and they come sort it out. And if it's a protest, guess what? We have a First Amendment right to protest. It's the cost of living in a free society. Sometimes there's going to be protests that slightly inconvenience you and you have to take a different route to your destination. Boo fucking who? And meanwhile, Elon Musk said, if you were unfairly treated by your employer due to posting or liking something on this platform, we will fund your legal bill. No limit. Please let us know. Elon Musk. Wait a minute, Elon. I thought you were the free speech guy. Why are you adding his employer instead of funding his defense? So Elon Musk, by the way, we have no evidence whatsoever that the shooters had anything to do with me, Hasan, DSA, the left, the Democratic Party. There's no evidence at all. None, squat, zilch, nada. Not saying it can't exist, but currently there is none. And do these fascists give a fuck? They're just make it up. And so Hasan was invited to write something on the opinion pages of the New York Times, which Bada Padada, again, making fun of Bada Padada said, you don't get invited to write on the New York Times op-ed page if you're a threat to the system. I want you to understand something, chat. That is dullard argument. Only a dullard makes that kind of argument, because all sorts of people he has cited in his videos have been on the op-ed page of the New York Times. Who gives a shit? It's an opinion. Hasan is the most popular online leftist. In fact, he platformed Weaponizing. So by transitive property, Weaponizing is not a threat to the system because he was platformed by Hasan, who was platformed by the New York Times. La-di-da, Weaponizing is not a threat to the system. What happened is, Hasan Piker is really popular. He was going to debate Charlie Kirk. The New York Times wanted eyes on their fucking op-ed page. It's not very complicated. And I'm sure, I mean, like, it's not that complicated, guys. Not that complicated.
To my audience.
Noam Chomsky worked for the, MIT. Nobody who works for MIT is a threat to the system. I mean, that's gesturing at an argument without actually addressing what Hasan says. It gestures like it's profound without actually making a point. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pseudo-intellectual. That's lazy. Now, if he wants to make a significant argument, if he wants to actually say, when Hasan said this, that was defending the system, that would be fine. I would be interested in that. But like, oh my God, I can't believe someone wrote an article about you. Oh my God, I can't believe you wrote an article that was published in the New York Times. That means X. That's nonsense, guys. That's baby shit.
On Twitch, as I do nearly every day. While I am exposed to daily images of incredible horror, particularly those of atrocities taking place in Gaza, I was still shocked by the images from Utah. What shocked me was not merely the graphic nature of what took place. It was the horror of seeing someone whom I know, not a friend or an ally.
Do you think the vibe shift that was previously predicted over? I would say this. I would say the Republicans and the fascist right control the commanding heights of the American empire. So even though the vast majority of people are vibe shifting against Trump, what power do you have?
But a human being I know personally and have debated before fall victim to what clearly seems to be a rising tide of political violence. Even before knowing exactly why Mr. Kirk was killed, I think there are some disturbing and necessary insights that can be drawn from his horrible death. Ideas that affect the way many of my viewers and many of the people who followed Mr. Kirk would see the world. The first of these insights is hardly new. The United States has both very loose gun laws and more violent gun deaths per capita than any other developed nation in the world. And while shootings occur most anywhere, campuses can be especially deadly. As news broke that Mr. Kirk was shot at Utah Valley University, there was a near simultaneous tragedy at a high school in small town Colorado, where a 16-year-old shot two fellow students. There have been 47 school shootings this year. Charlie Kirk's was the 46th, and the
By the way, chat, the New York Times has a topic for Noam Chomsky. I guess Noam Chomsky isn't much of a threat to the system. Look how much they've covered him over the years. I mean, it's like one of those things where you're just like, come on, guys. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Can we make a point that's not baby shit?
Colorado shooting was the 47th. Though it may ultimately prove correct to classify Mr. Kirk's death as a tectonic political murder, the shooting was not itself uncommon or extraordinary. The victim was. The second idea is more general and is connected to perhaps why these kinds of killings happen in the first place. Violence almost never originates in a vacuum, and the killing of a high-profile political content.
By the way, I'm not even that much of a Chomskyan fan, if I'm being honest. I'm not that big of a Chomsky fan. I do think that manufacturing consent is it's an idea that predates him, but I think that the argument explains a lot of why the media sucks. And it's a really well-argued point, so I use it because it's good. Weaponizing literally say, Norm, you mean Gnome, is not a threat to the system before? Of course not. What does threat to the system even mean? No one's a threat to the system by themselves. No one's a threat to the system by themselves. Being a YouTuber is not a threat to the system. I'm not a threat to the system. None of us are threats to the system by ourselves. It's just we live in a world where we try our best.
Regardless of why it happened, speaks to a breakdown in our social order. Mr. Kirk was fond of talking about the ways that urban life has decayed in America, particularly in places like his native Chicago area. In fact, his last words included answering a question about the frequency of mass shootings with a question of his own about whether gang violence counted in that discussion. Any answer about civic decline in America also has to include a discussion about the failure of our political and economic establishment to reconcile with social challenges that have touched every place and aspect of American life. Too many examples of the deadly gun violence we see today are, it seems to me, indicative of this decline. The social challenges include rising rents and homelessness, the destruction caused by climate change, titanic levels of inequality, and too many others to name here. Our capitalist way of life, always accumulating, never evening out, leaves more and more people to deal with these problems on their own. This produces feelings of isolation and resentment as material conditions worsen. And considering that our society is swamped by, and yet somehow stitched together by, a 24/7 news cycle that too often feeds this resentment, it is little wonder that a country of stressed out gun owners would have so many grim, needless gun deaths. This connects to my final idea. Americans inhabit a culture of violence to which we have become habitually desensitized. There is a connection between our culture of violence and American foreign policy. Over time, our culture of violence has targeted people around the world, anywhere from Cuba to Iraq, people who serve as literal targets for American weapons and bombs, absorbing what I think of as Americans' excess capacity for violence. For years now, American politics has taken on an increasingly punitive flavor. During the George W. Bush era, Arabs and Muslims were, and remain, singled out for suspicion. Their civil rights were routinely violated as we embarked on fresh wars against Arab and Muslim countries, and we regarded lives in those countries as less precious than our own. I call it the process of collateralization, where we look to the children in Gaza, for example, and we just, even if we are naysayers, even if we actually find Israel's actions to be abhorrent, deep down inside of our consciousness, we still see that as like unfortunate byproducts of a necessary way in which the world exists, right? Collateral damage. We almost turn it into a natural disaster. He reads this article every time I tune in, Lamau. I wrote this article recently, and this is the first time I'm reading it. But I have repeated a lot of these things, so yes. So you have heard me say these things before. That's just usually how it goes. It's just me putting pen to paper, you know? The Barack Obama years were not so much a correction as a continuity, with drone strikes, night raids, and forever war. What followed in President Trump's first term and in Joe Biden's administration was still more of the same. Extreme rhetoric about designated American enemies, combined with aggressive sanctions and secret operations aimed at destabilizing entire countries. A foreign policy organized around punishing and killing our supposedly sworn enemies, diplomacy be damned, conveys the terrible message that we can only kill and maim our way to achieving the world we want to live in. I fear that this is the most evident in America's ironclad support for Israel. The genocide.
Can I just say how lucky we are to have Hasan? Like, there's a lot of people that criticize Hasan and try to pretend that they're some sort of like left wing, they're holier than thou. But what does he make sure to do? He was invited to make this dumb fucking op-ed. Now, it's a great op-ed, but the idea of it is a dumb idea, which is like, will you please comment about Charlie Kirk dying? And he brings it back to the tens of thousands of innocent children that have been murdered by American foreign policy. What a goddamn king. And the New York Times published it. The New York Times published it. What a king. This is why I appreciate him, man.
In Gaza has claimed tens of thousands of innocent lives. Meanwhile, Israel has carried out brazen assassinations and attempted assassinations in Iran, Qatar, Lebanon, and Yemen, backed up by Mr. Trump and previously by Mr. Biden. Our government's virtually unyielding support for Israel tells a scary story about the country we live in. It suggests that merely because we designate them as such, American enemies can be marked for death. Whether such rivals pose a legitimate threat, the fire and fury of our military and our allies have clearly become the default answers for how we deal with a world whose interests don't align with our own. Pulling a gun or launching a missile has become a part of our national character, a sad reduction of morality at a time, to the time it takes for fingers to pull the triggers. I would have liked to ask Mr. Kirk about all these things. He and I identified some of the same problems, but our views clashed about their causes and their potential solutions. Americans, especially younger Americans, feel a sense of growing hopelessness as so many of those in power refuse to listen to their struggles, economic or otherwise. One side, Democrats, offer mostly platitudes, while the other, epitomized by Mr. Trump, frequently takes advantage of people's resentments and redirects them to vulnerable communities. Mr. Kirk, an ally of Mr. Trump, was an expert of the latter. I wanted to debate Mr. Kirk, but because of a violent act, now I can't. So that was it. Does this have comments? I want to see the comments. How did you get the New York Times to publish this? They asked me. Do they not have comments on this? Don't think guest essays have comments? Oh, okay. So, they asked me, and I wanted to. They changed some stuff around structurally, and if you think that the tone it takes is a little bit drier than the way I would have spoken on these issues, that is because yes, there is an editorial tone that they keep. No, they let me keep the genocide. Genocide is now officially a part of the New York Times style guide. You can say Israel is doing a genocide without.
Wow, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear that. Now you can call it a genocide, guys. Isn't that awesome to hear? I'm like listening to myself and going, oh, wow. Everybody acknowledges it's a genocide now.
Slapping on air quotes or whatever. I think basically the way this changed was after the New York Times had that Jewish Israeli Holocaust scholar write about how Israel is definitely doing a genocide. In the aftermath of that, I think they were like, it's done. Like, you can now say it openly. Yeah, they hyperlinked the word, like, to show. Look, they hyperlinked it to send it to, yeah, I'm a genocide scholar. I know it when I see it, to Omar Bartov. So obviously it's a little bit more restrained and a little bit more balanced and takes a drier tone than I normally would use. But that is because it like when you write a guest essay, even when you write a guest essay for the New York Times, like they still obviously have their own editors go through it. I had 2 different rounds of editorial process. And then this is an interview that I did with Joe Bernstein of the New York Times as well, where I kind of like went through the same process as well.
I think this is really good. I think this may actually be something that's really important for us to understand, is that anybody who's going after Hasan right now is an ally of the fascist right. I want to double underline this. No one reasonably believes that Hasan had anything to do with the Charlie Kirk shooting. Okay, if somebody is saying that, they're just exposing themselves as an ally of the Trump administration and of the fascist right. There is literally not one shred of evidence, not one, of him calling for it. There is a lot more evidence that Nick Fuentes did, that Destiny did. So anybody who's saying this is just an ally of fascism and censorship. Open Presence, thank you so much for the 25 gifted subs. And Ethan Klein, Ethan Klein has been an open fascist for 2 years now. You know, it's a genocide going on in Gaza. He's obsessed with us. Ethan Klein, I know you're watching this. Your entire life is being rendered meaningless because of your pathetic obsession. Hasan will never be your friend again. It's over. Get a life, bro. Get a fucking life. You've destroyed Teddy Fresh. You've destroyed your stream. You can't even post on TikTok. It's fucking over, man. It's fucking over. Evan Fist, thank you for the sub. Chat, we are 3 hours and 15 minutes into the stream. We are dangerously close to a hype train. We just had 45 gifted subs dropped. If somebody else subs it is, oh, by the way, chat, it is September. Take advantage of the discounted subscriptions. You can get 6 months subscriptions at 30% off. That is an incredible fucking opportunity. Take advantage of that opportunity. Subscribe right now during September. You get your 6 months, you save $10. You're going to be a subscriber anyway. You might as well take advantage of the discounts that come along with doing it for 6 months. Mine says 15. If you upgrade it from, I think if you upgrade your tier 1 sub to a 6-month sub, it should be 30% off. Make sure you're doing it on the desktop website as well.
But I'm not going to go into that right now. The reason why I brought up the guest op-ed that
Tom like a Tom, thank you.
Wrote for the New York Times.
JW, thanks for the tier 3. 66 months.
Because like it basically is the easiest to understand summarization of how I connect like America's unlimited violence overseas back to unlimited violence in the domestic, and how we have become increasingly more desensitized to violence, and that's the reason why we are reacting the way that we are to all of these instances. Because people, I think, mostly don't understand. I don't think people understand like boomers especially are like, what the fuck? Why are people celebrating death? And it's like, this is part of the reason, because so many people, regardless of their political background, are experiencing the same economic pressures, and they're also seeing unlimited violence, born out of our actions as a consequence of foreign policy, but also our actions in domestic policy. And then they're going, okay, well, the value of life is worth nothing, I guess, you know? On the back of this, I kept journalists and reporters having to explain how this works, how media works, the drama perverts. My guess is these outlets reached out to him. I doubt Hasan is farming them. Bro is farming hard. Yeah, I wonder why a bunch of mainstream outlets would...
I legitimately, the thing about being a leftist, is we believe human potential. We believe in the kind of inherent equality of everybody. And then you see somebody like 20,000 or Destiny, and you're like, no, there are some motherfuckers that are just inferior and stupid and need to be contained and need to have like intensive mental health treatment, or maybe they didn't get enough like formula when they were an infant because they just don't have the mental horsepower. There are just some motherfuckers that are so stupid that you're like, oh fuck, maybe there is a little bit of a difference between me and them. The thing about Destiny, and I want to commend him, is he's such an inferior content creator and commentator. He is so fucking stupid that he actually does create right-wingers. Like, every time you see Destiny, you can kind of feel yourself being pulled to the right. Right? Now, he doesn't claim to be a right-winger, but he's just so bad at this and so stupid. You're like, some people are inferior.
Reach out to a guy who is fairly knowledgeable on like online radicalization and is also directly connected both by his profession and also directly connected due to the fact that we were supposed to debate to the person who was just...
If our org is telling us to be silent about Charlie Kirk, do you think that's valid? I would say that right now there is an attempt to target everybody who mocks Charlie Kirk's death. And if you make comments about it, you're going to be opening yourself up to government surveillance. And it's pretty much been confirmed that the FBI and the intelligence services are monitoring people for comments about Charlie Kirk. So from the perspective of OPSEC, if your organization says, please don't make comments about Charlie Kirk, I think that if that is a democratic decision of your organization, and that's an organization you want to be a part of, I would respect that. That being said, it just proves that we have fallen down further into the fascist pipeline.
Just killed on the exact opposite side of the political spectrum. No, it must be that I'm paying for it. These guys are, their brains are underdeveloped, I think. They're just like, it didn't cook enough. Part of the reason why I wanted to write the op-ed was also because I feel like there's a lot of people offering their takes on the stuff, and some of it actually doesn't accurately convey Charlie Kirk's perspective at all. So just watch the YouTube video saying you didn't condemn the assassination commie. The 10-sec vids, I'm sure, are true and not out of context. Yeah, it makes no sense, to be fair.
Hey guys, is Geopolled good? I guess I'm subscribed, so apparently they are.
Yesterday, a tragic school shooting in Colorado took place. The 100...
Okay, maybe we shouldn't watch it. Turbo, thanks for the 5 tier 1s. Chat, remember, the top sub gifter and top bit donor get the Hype Train Conductor badge, and that's Night Wild. With 40 bits, you get the Hype Train Conductor badge, you sneaky little snake. All right, chat. The Nation magazine wrote an op-ed about Charlie Kirk's assassination and his legacy. Elizabeth Spears wrote, Charlie Kirk's legacy deserves no mourning. The white Christian nationalist provocateur wasn't a promoter of civil discourse. He preached hate, bigotry, and division. I'm actually sad for you guys. Oh, okay. Please tell me more. Bella Chow, person has another opinion to you. You want them dead. That's fascism. That's literally Charlie Kirk. I can't wait to see your reactions to Charlie Kirk. Let's read. I can't wait to see your reactions to Charlie Kirk. This ought to be good. Charles James Kirk died on Wednesday from a gunshot to the neck at Utah Valley University campus event, just as he was trying to deflect a question about mass shootings by suggesting they were largely a function of gang violence. He died with a net worth of $12 million, which he made by espousing horrific and bigoted views in the name of advancing Christian nationalism. The foundation of his empire was the group he co-founded and led, Turning Point USA, which is a key youth recruitment arm of the MAGA movement. Kirk was able to launch Turning Point at the age of 18 because he received money from Tea Party member Bill Montgomery, right-wing donor Foster Feast, and his own father, also a prolific right-wing donor. He was an unrepentant racist, transphobe, homophobe, misogynist who often wrapped his bigotry in Bible verses because there was no other way to pretend that it was morally correct. He had children, as do many vile people. It is rude of me to say all of this because we live in a culture where manners are often valued more than truth. That's why a slew of pundits and politicians have raced to portray Kirk's activities, which harmed many vulnerable people, in a positive light, and to give him the benefit of the doubt that he did not grant to anyone who wasn't white, Christian, straight, and male. California Governor Gavin Newsom framed Kirk's project as a healthy democratic exercise. The best way to honor Charlie's memory is to continue his work, engage with each other across ideology through spirited discourse. In a democracy, ideas are tested through words and good faith debate. This downwardly defines both discourse and good faith. There is no requirement to take part in this whitewashing campaign. Refusing to join in doesn't make anyone a bad person. It's a choice to write an obituary that begins, Joseph Goebbels was a gifted marketer and loving father to 6 children. Many of the facile defenses of Kirk and his legacy are predicated on the idea that it's acceptable to spread hateful ideas advocating the persecution of perceived enemies as long as you dress them up in a posture of debate. This is just class privilege. A man who said black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously, you have to go steal a white person's slot, said it while wearing a nice shirt and a tie on a podcast instead of tattered overalls in the parking lot of a rural Walmart. That does not make it any less racist. It's true that we cannot know what was in Charlie Kirk's heart because we are not telepathic, but we can make reasonable inferences based on the things he said and did publicly, because we are not colossally stupid. He built a large following and acquired real political power saying these things to young people, to the president and his minions, to deep pocket right-wing donors. And there are far too many people who have been ready to suggest that he was able to do this through a combination of natural charisma and good old-fashioned hard work. Speaking about and addressing the late Texas Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who is black, he said, "It's very obvious to us you are not smart enough to be able to get it on your own. I could not make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving." Kirk was smart enough to ask his father for a check when he wanted to found Turning Point, and he had always been happy to curtail opportunities for more deserving people when they failed to conform to his own ideology. It's this that makes it particularly galling to see him cast by some as a free speech warrior. He created a professor watch list explicitly designed to get academics fired who dared talk about the right's usual assortment of verboten topics, anything to do with race or gender in particular. He also offered the standard right-wing plaint about left-wing indoctrination at American universities, even as he went on campus tours trying to indoctrinate young people into his hard-right Christian nationalist worldview. When we decline to speak ill of the dead, it's because we have compassion for the living. In this respect, I'm sorry for Kirk's children. I don't know if Kirk was a good father, but if he was, that does little to mitigate the damage he did to other people's children. I can only hope for the sake of his kids that they have role models who will teach them that it is wrong to profit off the dehumanization of people because of who they are. When asked about mass shootings, he said, "I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we could have a Second Amendment." Perhaps Kirk did not believe his own life would be cut short by gun violence, but we, like the rest of us, he has witnessed countless school shootings. And when he said some gun deaths are acceptable, he surely knew he lived in a country where the deaths he deemed acceptable included those of children, some of whom were the age of his own. There is no inherent virtue in caring about your own children. There is a bare minimum requirement for effective parenting. Virtue lies in caring about the safety and well-being of children you don't know. On that front, I'm fairly sure Kirk did not care about my child. My child lives in Brooklyn in a progressive family. His mother works and does not have a marriage where she is considered inferior to her husband or required to obey him, as Kirk arrogantly told Taylor Swift she should do after learning of her engagement. "Reject feminism," he said. "You're not in charge." We also live in a Haitian immigrant neighborhood, and if you only listen to Charlie Kirk, you might be under the impression that my neighbors eat pets. You would also be encouraged to believe that simply by virtue of being non-white immigrants, they were replacing white people, and that, since they are also black, they are dangerous. "Happening all the time in urban America," he said. "Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. I do not believe anyone should be murdered because of their views, but that is because I do not believe people should be murdered generally, regardless of who they are or what they've done. I am also against the death penalty, pro-gun control, and believe war is a failure of humanity, not a necessary byproduct of it. Kirk was fine with murder as long as the right people were dying. Some of the people valorizing Kirk insist that all of his toxicity was acceptable because at least he was open to debate. A bar so low you'd have to dig into the Mariana Trench to get to it. And he certainly paid lip service to it. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide, he said, of his own streaming operation. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity. But Kirk's actions undercut that notion every day. His entire business was saying the other side was evil and dehumanizing them. The debates were simply performances, and he could not have an entertaining public fight without opposition. Turning Point did not work to bring people together. It worked to bring about a country where everyone who wasn't a white Christian nationalist wasn't welcome. I won't celebrate his death, but I'm not obligated to celebrate his life. I think this is largely how I feel. Charlie Kirk was a charlatan. Charlie Kirk was harmful. Charlie Kirk was a piss poor debater. There's not one thing about Charlie Kirk that I think is redeeming. And the fact that he was rewarded and enriched by this society shows the profound failure of this society to be a meritocracy. It shows that this society is quite simply one designed to serve the interests of the super rich and the super rich alone.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated, but I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed. Charlie Kirk did not deserve.
Liberation theology churches are fucking bangers, chat. And if you've never been to one, you're missing out.
158th act of gun violence within an American school in 2025. You probably didn't hear about it though, not just because the 10th of September 2025 was potentially the most insane day for world news ever in history. No, it's actually just boring. It's not a big deal. On average, every single day in America, a gun is fired within school grounds. Every single fucking day. Now, some American politicians are kind of okay with this. A few kids dying is a small price to pay if it means I get my very own gun. Just like how a few kids getting trafficked and on an island is a small price to pay as long as I get my money and my elite connections. Now, I'm going to split Americans into 3 categories right now. Anti-gun, medium gun, and extreme gun. For this video, I'm only focusing on extreme gun. These are the dudes who are way past just having a little self-defense Glocky in their crib. No, the extreme gun guys think like assault rifles, machine guns, basically army gear, weapons of mass destruction should be completely legal.
Emo guys like that are not school shooters, chat. That's the misapprehension. Emo guys are not school shooters. They're more likely to strum a guitar than pull a trigger. School shooters are like Asmongold fans. That's what a school shooter is.
And available to any applicable US citizen. Now, the most popular, most powerful extreme gun advocate in the USA is a man called Charlie Kirk, and I'll play you his justification for the senseless, brutal slaughters that occur due to the lack of gun regulation in America, which he supports.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
I fully acknowledge and admit, when you allow gun ownership, you're going to have gun deaths. There is a cost to liberty.
Well, obviously he was wrong. It turns out cold-blooded murder is not a price worth paying for firearm freedom. Running the risk of assault rifles being fired on school grounds is not worth it. Why? Well, there's another reason that Colorado school shooting didn't make it into our news headlines yesterday. An event so shocking and graphic, it drew more attention than any of the global catastrophes happening right now. Charlie Kirk, high-level Trump ally, was murdered. He was mid-sentence describing how America's globally abnormal amount of shootings is the fault of transgender people. His last words were gang violence. And milliseconds later, he was gruesomely, unjustly shot dead in a gang-related assassination. Now, in typical British fashion, I still can't really believe that it's even possible for people to be shot in a school. I think that is absolutely absurd and disgusting, whether it's a kid or a controversial influencer. Look, I don't particularly like the guy or what he stands for, but in no universe would I celebrate a death like this. I believe in free speech. I believe that being scared some random person is going to kill you in front of your family is absolutely terrible and cannot be defended. However, I also apply that belief to everyone all around the world, which is where me and Charlie have different viewpoints, which is why I feel like it's kind of fair to make this video. Charlie Kirk genuinely played a massive role in normalizing Israel's brutal genocide of Gaza.
And this weekend, there was an all-out propaganda campaign trying to make it seem as if Israel is intentionally starving the people of Gaza. I hate being lied to. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place. I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. The overuse of the word genocide. Because when you keep on using genocide, you're basically trying to cheapen actual genocides that have happened the last 100 years. What is Israel doing exactly? Tell me in detail. Where is it happening?
War crimes.
War crimes, really? How?
What do you mean how? They're killing little kids, man.
Well, hold on. Killing kids. You mean wait, they drop leaflets before they bomb in Gaza? They drop leaflets before they bomb in Gaza. 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 They drop leaflets before they bomb in Gaza.
The level of war crimes here are genuinely indescribable. Children ahead with precision snipers, people gunned down whilst waiting for aid, every single hospital reduced to shreds, to rubble, to stop people from receiving aid and help.
They build their headquarters under hospitals.
Rescue workers, volunteers, wiped out in cold blood by the launching of secondary military strikes on buildings. Mass starvation and drought due to aid blockades. American fucking citizens admitting to children for sport, children who were trying to retrieve their parents' remains, and the sheer numbers are just inconceivable. There are genuinely like tens of thousands of Charlie Kirks in Palestine right now. Dads who—
Wait, no. They're shooting babies, man. They're shooting toddlers, man. Charlie Kirk justified the murder of little children, toddlers, guys, 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds. Drones flying into people's apartments and shooting the little babies. I'm dead serious. And Charlie Kirk said it was okay. He supported it.
Who were needlessly assassinated in front of their kids, you know? Charlie also played a massive role in getting Donald Trump voted in. This directly resulted in bombs being dropped on Iranian civilians, missiles striking their capital city, aggravating and significantly worsening the bloodshed in Ukraine, missiles striking Venezuelan speedboats. It just goes on and on and on.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term that it does a lot of damage.
Charlie Kirk's connection to this depraved world stage is so strong that even Netanyahu himself tweeted RIP the same day he launched bombs on 5 fucking countries just to further destabilize the region in such a tense time. All these people that Kirk co-signed the murder of had families. All these people had hobbies and personalities and lives, but no one cared when they died. No one was spamming Twitter for them.
Keir Starmer is responsible for the sort of shit that happens there, because he's put a target on every one of us with his smears and lies for telling the truth. Charlie Kirk told the truth.
A bullet fired at Charlie Kirk is a bullet fired at all of us. There will be no mercy, no diplomacy, and no surrender.
The American president didn't make a public announcement for them. Quite the opposite, actually. They were mocked. And also, no one just went and blindly blamed the right.
Say this: Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota? Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
2 months ago, there was a guy who shot 2 Democrat politicians who was a Trump voter, and the entire right wing started literally posting memes about it, or downplaying it by calling the shooter a Democrat or something, as if that even mattered. When Nancy Pelosi got attacked, Charlie Kirk tweeted this, implying that the whole attack was just a ruse and a fake. He himself was doing this to a victim of political violence. He himself was condoning political violence and spreading dehumanizing and violent rhetoric. He was not really important. He was a cog in the right-wing propaganda machine that has worked day and night spreading dehumanizing and violent rhetoric. One of many, honestly. Charlie Kirk was nothing more than a political puppet used for saying the worst things humanly imaginable with no actual opinions of his own, really. Only the administration's.
Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage.
He was about releasing the Epstein files, and then when Trump...
What's incredible about all this is, how the fuck do you afford a mortgage with no job that pays anything, you fucking billionaire bootlicking sack of shit? You fucking loser? You Nepo baby? Fuck, that guy's stupid.
Didn't want to release the Epstein files. He was talking about, I let my friends in the administration handle it.
You're speaking my language. I think the Epstein files need to be released yesterday. We need to know every single person and get
now suddenly he got
the Epstein client list out immediately. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I trust my friends, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, my friend Pam Bondi, all these guys. I'm going to, Todd Blanche, I'm going to trust them to solve it.
Which is more important than ever right now, because as I speak, a new piece of evidence has just leaked. This is a photo of Jeffrey Epstein holding a big novelty check signed from him to Donald Trump for the price of $22,500, and he stood next to a woman and a Mar-a-Lago member. But apparently the caption on this photo, which was written by the Mar-a-Lago member in the middle, reads, "Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women, sells fully depreciated redaction to Donald Trump for $22,500. Bro, yeah, I think I'll just leave that up to the administration. I think I trust them with this. Charlie Kirk was an integral piece of the operation to cover up Epstein and all the elites involved that he bootlicked.
Above that, he was advocating for ruining millions of people's lives by either deporting them or killing them. And what happened was an outcome of dehumanizing people and normalizing hatred. When people advocate for ruining millions of lives, such as how he was making fun of Ukrainians and Palestinians for dying when they are both being attacked by a genocidal maniac state, and you take the side of the genocidal maniac state, it's not good. You should not have started dehumanizing people like this, because it never ends well. When public figures like Charlie Kirk spread dehumanizing rhetoric, it increases the risk of violence.
Charlie's general views on violence are actually insane and extremely twisted, in my opinion. I'm gonna read you off a quote he actually said with his own mouth. Death penalties should be public, should be quick, it should be televised. I think at a certain age, it's an initiation. What age should you start to see public execution? Then one of his fellow panel members said, I think maybe age 12, 6th grade, so when you are old enough. And then Charlie said, I think it should be taken in a holy way. What? I saw this news headline, I thought it was a joke.
How could it not occur to Charlie that something like this was eventually going to happen? Advocating against Palestinian civilians getting bombed to by Israel, where this is the 21st century. We can see what Israel is doing. We can see the videos of.
I mean, like, this is fundamentally the tension, right? Like, I think violence against Charlie Kirk, or violence in general, is unjustifiable. But one of the things that I did see, you know, when Adolf Hitler was once asked, when he was a fascist dictator, what could have stopped the Nazis from taking power? And Adolf Hitler was always of the opinion that if he had been crushed early, that would have stopped the Nazis. And I don't think that strategy of violence, forgetting violence, has necessarily borne out to be the case. What we see is Charlie Kirk advocating for violence, Charlie Kirk celebrating violence, and the moment there is violence back, in the same vein that he advocated for, the right wing is calling the left violent, even though none of us have called for violence to be used. I haven't called for violence against anybody. Hasan hasn't called for violence against anybody, but I've had a lot of violence called for against me. Hasan has had a lot of violence called for against him.
Dead babies that were blown up. We can see the people being burned alive. And Charlie was advocating for the fire, saying schools should teach kids about critical race theory, saying if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
What were you thinking, man?
The thing about that is Charlie Kirk, as a dropout and somebody who has no formal education and no profession other than accepting checks from billionaires, is that he knows nothing about flying. Every single pilot has to go through the same exact training and pass the same exact check rides and has to have the same level of experience. There is no, well, black people can fly less hours. No, you have to take the written exams. You have to take the check rides. You have to demonstrate with your physical performance of flying the airplane that you're capable of flying the airplane. There is no, like, special pilot license for black pilots. In fact, if you see a black pilot or you see a woman pilot, they are the most meritorious pilots there because they had to do it through a lot of barriers. They had to become a pilot through a lot of discrimination, a lot of headwinds. They got harassed. They got made fun of. They had to deal with racism. They had to deal with prejudgments. If you see a female pilot or you see a fucking black pilot, those people are more qualified than your average white pilot. They had to actually fight through a lot of other bullshit to get there. You know, like, that is the reality. When I see a female pilot, I'm like, okay, I know she's a badass. I get nervous when I see a young white man as a pilot because I'm like, oh, fuck. He probably went to a pilot license mill. He probably went to the University of North Dakota and barely has the minimum amount of hours. And oh, fuck. Like, oh, fuck. The airlines have been trying to, you know, get the FAA to reduce the amount of hours and, you know, experience required for airline pilots. I'm like, oh, fuck. That's what I think. Because I know a lot about planes. Hey, Austin, what's up, man? I didn't see... Austin chimes in when we're talking about the Charlie Kirk. Austin Show chimes in when we're talking about the Charlie Kirk, talking about black pilots. You are so predictable, man. I love your autism that, you know, you and I have the same autism. We were so caught. It's like, planes? He's right on your stream.
Being racist against Mamdani for being a Muslim to the point where even a Fox News commentator told you to take it down because it was gross and Islamophobic. Literally yesterday saying Islam is the sword the left is using to slit the throat of America. You were a spokesperson of an ideology and administration that's ruining families.
You have a source on airlines reducing flight hours? They're fighting to reduce it. These motherfuckers say source to Mike from PA? You're saying source?
supporting them or blowing them up, and also advocating for ruining the lives of women.
Out of respect for his family, I am not going to play the clip of him describing a hypothetical situation about his daughter. You probably...
Wait, what's this?
Holy fuck. Go fuck yourself. How about that? Have you... Stop repeating yourself, holy fuck. Fuck yourself. How about that? Have you ever thought of that? Let me repeat that. Go fuck yourself. Holy fuck. Why don't you go fuck yourself? Why don't you go fuck yourself? Why don't you go fuck yourself? How about that?
2 weeks of streaming, just chatting. 2 weeks of streaming, just chatting. And he's already having a meltdown. Austin Show is already having a meltdown. 2 weeks of streaming and just chatting. I've been doing this shit for 6 fucking years. I pioneered the morning streams.
Oh, look at me. I'm you going to fuck myself. Oh, look at me. Oh.
All I can say at the end of this clip made me kind of understand Austin a little bit.
Know exactly what I'm talking about already, though. In my opinion, what he said was absolutely unthinkable.
Yeah.
I would literally rather launch myself off the top of the Empire State Building than ever utter such words, especially about someone in my family.
I already brought up the source, Nicodemus.
Bro.
Misogynistic, racist, and genocidal. This was a...
I have very few lib takes left. You're welcome, Austin Show. You're welcome. Although it's a little bit late. I think it's a little bit late. I'm glad that you have changed. Well, you know what, chat? Austin, I'm taking credit, but it's not really me. It's more of the milieu of politics and Austin just being a reasonable person. If you're a reasonable liberal and you actually look at the facts and you actually look at the evidence and you evaluate the Democratic Party and you pay attention to politics for an extended period of time, you will either become a leftist or you will basically become a conservative. You can't be an honest person and look at the Democratic Party and think they're legitimately trying to win and they're legitimately making the best decisions. You will be forced out of that position because the Democratic Party and liberalism is bankrupt.
Very harmful rhetoric Charlie was spreading and normalizing and dehumanizing everyone who was not a Christian white man. I was a kid when Russia invaded my country.
I mean, look, right now there are Democrats are nowhere to be found. They should be counter messaging, elevating a horrific message. They are trying to destroy Zohran Mamdani and me and Hasan. What do you mean? They are working very hard. What are you talking about? They're worshiping Charlie Kirk and they're trying to deplatform us. What do you mean? They're working to give Donald Trump his budget without shutting down the government in exchange for ACA private health insurance money. They're working overtime so the private health insurance industry gets more money, and in return, they will make sure the government doesn't get shut down.
You know, and to hear this guy defending them, I obviously have a reason to dislike him. But never have I ever advocated for a genocide of Russians like Charlie did with Palestinians by urging people to support Israel, saying that Ukraine was responsible for 1 million dead and not Russia. This is just victim blaming. And these people you advocated against will never be as rich as you, will never have as much privilege as you, and will never ever be as influential as you. So for you to use your huge platform to kick people that are already down was very harmful. These were minorities and poor people you were advocating against. I know he had a family and I feel bad for them, and so did all these Palestinians, Ukrainians, and immigrants that have been deported by ICE have also had families.
It gets to a point, man. Like, I just saw a tweet from a podcaster saying, I have no words. I don't understand how to live in a world where someone would take a father away from his young children for having a different opinion. This man, this podcaster, has previously had Netanyahu on as a guest. The double standard here is crazy. You should have been asking him that, maybe. It's actually about 100,000 times more important to ask Netanyahu that question, is it not?
I hope his death is not used as a way of enforcing his entire ideology, and I really hope the current administration does not turn him into some sort of hero and instead takes the measurements to enforce strict gun control laws so a thing like this does not happen again, and also so that so many school shootings and mass shootings can be prevented. But I know Trump is not gonna do that. He's gonna come out tomorrow, say, I'm making being a leftist illegal. everybody's going to die. But
the horrible irony of this situation is bulletproof vests didn't save Charlie, security didn't save Charlie, all the measures on Earth could have not saved Charlie. There was one potential thing that would have saved Charlie Kirk though. It is gun control. He was shot in the neck by an assault rifle. There is genuinely no way to stop this from being fatal apart from gun control. Simple. There's always going to be someone with evil, horrible intentions wherever you go on the political spectrum, or wherever you go from state to state or country to country. So just trusting any adult with a warfare grade firearm is just lunacy. And unfortunately for him, Charlie Kirk played a vital role in assisting the most gun-friendly president of our lifetimes to take control. Charlie Kirk normalized and ungrudgingly spewed out pro-gun propaganda constantly, and his death is a direct result of those policies he held so dear to him. Nigel Farage, Britain's far-right politician, has responded to his assassination by calling it a dark day for free speech. I completely agree. Today, free speech has been completely violated by the people who allowed murder weapons to be accessed and used to shut down free speech. Do you really think that it's any coincidence that this happened in Utah, arguably the state with the least restrictive gun laws? No. If the state had had stricter gun restrictions, it's pretty unlikely this assassin would have been able to access such a precise, high-grade, professional weapon, which allowed them to hit Charlie's throat and guarantee a fatality. All the security in the world, all the bulletproof vests in the world wouldn't have saved Charlie. In Utah, you don't need permits to carry a weapon. They have extremely loose background checks. There is no mandate to ban weapons on college campuses.
Here in Utah, we allow for the open carry of weapons on college campuses. Our legislature changed the law just a few months ago that would allow anyone who has a concealed carry permit to openly carry a weapon, whether it's a pistol or a rifle, on a college campus if they're over the age of 18.
What did they expect? The only possible solution which could have prevented this awful attack is gun control. However, Charlie wanted the whole country to be like Utah, with extremely lenient gun restrictions.
I mean, that was an open carry campus, was it not? That was an open carry campus, was it not? Like...
Charlie Kirk died above a sign saying, "Prove me wrong." He was shot to death whilst preaching about the benefits of lax gun control to thousands of impressionable kids. His last words were gang violence. He was answering a question about America's epidemic of mass shootings by essentially being like, what about gang violence though? That's way worse. That's the main problem with shootings in America. That's why they happen. That's the argument he was basically making. So Charlie Kirk's final words were essentially downplaying all the country's horrific, uncalled for, unnecessary school shootings, like his own assassination, which was merely milliseconds away. Is this really a price worth paying for your Second Amendment right? Your American freedom? I'm pretty disgusted by this entire thing though. I think it's quite horrible seeing someone you're used to seeing clipped up on social media a lot die, even though I didn't like the content he put out. Seeing all of this happen in 4K, it really highlighted how barbaric and gruesome and soul-crushing gun violence is. Not only for him, also for all the people that were my age who watched it happen in person, but also for all the people in war zones, for example Gaza. You know, I mean, technically we should be feeling like 100,000 times the amount of horror when looking at videos from Palestine versus Charlie's death. I just really hope this can open up some Westerners' eyes to the horrors our governments and our ideologies are sponsoring around the globe. And I really just pray some Americans can see, even if we disagree on other things, me and you, maybe we can meet in the middle here and agree maybe assault rifles shouldn't just be allowed in anyone's hands.
I don't think that that's happening in any other country. I think that you would have to go to a very desperate third world nation before you're seeing this level of violence on a daily level. The day before, we were thinking about doing a video of the guy that walked into the train and just slashed some woman and walked out. This is 0 days and counting since last senseless political death. I count the other one as political. This one, I mean, shot under his banner that says "Prove me wrong." I guess they did with physics and bullets. This, I can already see it in the commentary, is coming out as yet another oh, Charlie Kirk got owned in this debate. What do you think that you're accomplishing with this? Do you think that anything is going to happen other than they're not going to post on that specific account anymore? Another Charlie Kirk will rise, I can assure you. This is very much like having an issue with McDonald's and going out and shooting Ronald McDonald. You don't think that they're just going to say, oh, okay, we'll get this guy in another suit and put another one there?
Firearms need at least some level of restriction, man. Getting almost decapitated with precision by some random person is the most insane, nonsensical fear that people have to live with. Like, why? No one should ever go through that. And I maintain that view, whether the victim is some influencer I really disagree with, or if it's 20 school children with a mentally troubled classmate, or if it's 2 Democrat lawmakers, or if it's a Palestinian child. That was gonna be it. That was my big finale, but I'm just reading now as I speak, they found the culprit. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him, and apparently his dad snaked him out to the police as a favor to God, which is so crazy. Another crazy thing about this guy, I don't think he looks like the kind of dude to be in a gang or...
Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. Do we have a right winger? We have a right winger. Oh, thank God. I've been waiting for this. All right, here's the one thing I would say to the right. I am not a liberal. I knew you guys were like this. I'm not surprised. You know, I'm not shocked. And the United States of America is collapsing. Europe is dying out. We know. How are you not in jail yet? Because I am uncancelable. Saying someone should be in prison for inciting violence makes me a fascist. I've never incited violence. That's why I'm not banned. It's why I haven't been arrested. It's because I never did that. They had to lie. You guys had to lie and twist words. Anyone calling for political violence should be imprisoned. So you want Asmongold to be arrested? Every communist should be killed now. Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh and clean 92 should be imprisoned. Okay.
To be transgender. All I'm saying, bro. Anyway, if this video came...
Holy fuck. Okay, who's he following? We found the Tectone bot. Where's Tectone? I missed that guy. Hey, where's that Tectone guy? Why hasn't he streamed? What's been going on with that guy? Hey, Tectone, where'd you go, man? Where'd you go? Where's all your videos? What happened? Why'd you delete all your VODs? Hey, Tectone, why are all your VODs gone? Why aren't you streaming anymore? Is he permabanned? No. But you see, Tectone is a criminal. And so trying to avoid jail time, he's got to keep it quiet. He's got to shut his fucking mouth because his attorney's advice is to stop talking so much. Don't worry, Tectone. I know all about it, man. I know all about it. Keep quiet. You don't want to end up in prison. You should keep listening to your attorney. Tectone, keep listening to your attorney. Don't stream. Too risky. You don't want to accidentally confess.
Cross quite hurried. It's because it was. I gotta say a big thank you to my good friend Gatsu.
The thing about Tectone is he is a criminal. That's why he can't stream.
And my other good friend Caffeine, specifically this Syrian coffee shit, both made this 48-hour turnaround possible. It still cost me about 2 sleepless nights though. And I don't know if you noticed, but I spoke about that one geopolitical situation which weirdly doesn't perform too well on YouTube throughout this vid, the danger zone of YouTube. So guys, I would really appreciate a little like, a little comment, hit any of these damn buttons, bro, and you can help this video flourish in the algorithm. And I'll give you another reason to subscribe as well, okay?
One of the things the Constitution gives you the right to is a speedy trial. The one thing that Tectone's lawyers don't want is a speedy trial. Delay. Am I right, Tectone?
My big goal is to ratio Netanyahu by 10x. I mean, look, if you made it to this point of the video, it means we probably collectively share a hatred for this man. So let's defeat him together. And also, my final nugget of wisdom for you guys, yeah. Are you a musical genius like this man, Charlie Kirk?
Modern music is complete filth and garbage. Anything that has been published in the last 10 years.
Well, if so, have a listen to this outro music, man. I'm putting you on. But most importantly, stay safe, guys. Peace.
What a banger. Geopold. I'm surprised you're allowed to talk about Gaza over in Britbonger land. Aren't they arresting everybody? Oh my God. Even Even the most pathetic loser libs are saying Chuck Schumer is a cock. Oh my God.
We return to that hideous killing in America. Two things that we picked up on yesterday. I think one of these problems was solved. I began yesterday's program not really having a very clear idea of who Charlie Kirk was, or indeed what he stood for. And I ended it with a much clearer idea, which it is not quite as straightforward a process as you might think. I got a few messages yesterday complaining that we were playing out clips of what the chap actually said, the self-styled free speech champion. And then I bumped into Ian Dale yesterday evening, and he said, "Oh, you're getting a lot of flack on Twitter." And I said, "Well, what on earth have I done now?" And he said, "Oh, people think that you were wrong to play out clips of Charlie Kirk talking." I'm like, how can anybody be cross that you're playing out? I mean, what would he want in the aftermath of his appalling murder? Would he want his positions, his arguments, his messages to be more widely disseminated than ever before? Or would he want people to essentially censor him posthumously? How can it possibly be... I don't know. I gave up trying to work out what passes for the logic in the minds of these kind of people a long time ago. It's not true, is it? I'll never give up trying to work it out. But I gave up much hope that I would ever succeed. And the other bit that was missing from the analysis, from the entire story, was the definition of who they were. So Donald Trump moved immediately, as Donald Trump will always do, to turn this tragedy into whatever would be most to the benefit of Donald Trump. And so he elected to list attacks upon Republican politicians, refer to attacks upon Republican politicians, and completely ignore attacks upon Democrat politicians, many of which have been undertaken by people who were proven to be Donald Trump supporters or Donald Trump admirers, and talked about radical left rhetoric. I heard a lot of talk, I've seen a lot of talk about they. I'll play you a clip in a moment of a Fox News commentator saying they're at war with us. And I genuinely don't know who they are. And obviously there's a frisson of concern, not necessarily fear, that it just means anybody who keeps telling the truth about these people and this movement. Anybody who, for example, considers it absolutely unconscionable that you could pardon insurrectionists who attack the Capitol and left and left the police officers traumatized, terrified, and even dead. You know, I mean, is that what he means? What is the radical left rhetoric? So there were two things missing from our conversation yesterday. And I answered one of those questions. I now know what he stood for. I don't remove, and I appreciate some people have been less empathetic than me, if you like. But I don't resile a single scintilla of sympathy and horror at what happened to the guy. I used the word courageous yesterday to describe my reaction to the discovery that he always debated people. I don't know that I would reuse that word today, because I've had a look at some of the clips, I've had a look at some of the debates, and I don't really know how courageous it was. I've also seen quite a lot of clips of him losing, but the criticisms he received... But I'll tell you why I say that, because I don't think I'm courageous. And what he did essentially was what I do from a very different political position and not on the radio. So if I get the better of somebody, there'll be a long queue of people claiming that I've been condescending or I've bullied them, or we can't really edit things to make me look better than I actually am, because the whole flipping show is up on YouTube from beginning to end. But I don't want to be yin to his yang, and I'm obviously nowhere near as important on the political stage on either side of the Atlantic. But I don't know that it's courageous to say, prove me wrong. I just used the word to describe him in contrast to a lot of people who seem to have similar politics and will never stand up and be counted. So in relative terms, he had more courage than Hank Buncher-Numbers with a bald eagle avatar who spends his life disseminating negativity and bigotry on social media. And I didn't like what I discovered about him. And the more I discovered about him during yesterday's programme, the more troubled I was by the response, particularly of Boris Johnson, actually, who talked about all he ever did was say common sense things. And then you read some of the things that he'd actually said, or you listened to some of the things that he'd actually said, and you wondered whether Boris Johnson, the nicest thing you could say about Boris Johnson was that he didn't know. He should have listened to yesterday's show, because he was responding and that, of course, is when I realised why people would get so cross about anybody reading out what he'd said or playing out actual footage of him talking. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine casting yourself as a disciple of somebody you describe as a free speech champion, and then he tragically gets murdered by persons as yet unknown, which is an element of the conversation that we're moving towards. He tragically gets murdered, and all of the people who consider themselves to be disciples of a free speech champion have hissy fits and conniptions over the words that he spoke, over people playing the words that he spoke. I'm not often completely baffled by bigotry. I've got to tell you, that one's got me right in the confused zone of my brain. So you don't want me to find out what he stood for, even as I condemn his murder. Why don't you want me to find out why don't you want people to know what he stood for? Surely that's a grave disservice to his memory. You think he'd be ashamed of the things that he was recorded saying? You think he'd be ashamed of the positions he adopted? You think he'd be ashamed of the arguments that he made? Or are you ashamed of the fact that you agree with them and therefore you don't want anybody holding up the mirror, as usual? Generally, when I'm completely baffled by people, I realise it is what they see in the mirror that's being held up that they're repelled by, rather than the person actually holding up the mirror. That just becomes a wonderful exercise in projection. So I'm categorically not praising the man, but I am discovering with every passing hour the reality of his opinions. And that then takes us to the reaction. And I've seen actually one right-winger. I'm not familiar with him. I'm not that plugged into American politics. And I don't know whether he's ignorant of history or whether he's absolutely stupid. But I've seen one right-wing commentator this morning suggesting that this is like the Reichstag fire in Nazi Germany. The Reichstag fire, if you don't know, involved the German parliament building being set on fire by one individual who was a Dutch communist. And Hitler used it to claim that this was all part of a massive conspiracy by all the communists, because 1930s Germany could have gone either way. It could have gone far left or far right. And Hitler knew that. The biggest threat to him politically was probably from communists. And he therefore lied about it being a massive conspiracy of people, and that they had to round up all the communists. And once they started rounding up the communists and closing down democracy and co-opting the judiciary, you know what happened next. So I was a little surprised to see that point being made by somebody who would very much style themselves as on the same side of politics as Donald Trump or indeed Charlie Kirk. I didn't know Charlie Kirk was one of the people that lied about the 2020 election. So, again, I don't know what his position...
I mean, if we're being completely honest, the far right in this country has hijacked the judiciary, has hijacked law enforcement, is attempting to politicize the military, is creating a military fast reaction force in the United States. We're behind. We're behind. Like, let's be completely honest. And I think one of the worst things about the left is a lot of people on the left pretend like we have like everybody to choose from, and we have a bumper crop of leftists so we can pick and choose which leftists we want to associate with. We need to get rid of all of that. I apologize to every anarchist. We need every single one of us on the same popular front. I don't even care about our disagreements at this point. If you stand against Trump, I want to call on you to be an ally and a friend. I don't give a shit. Like, we don't have if you're an ex-veteran, good. Teach us how to use rifles. As long as you're willing to abandon defending the empire in favor of solidarity, you could join. I don't give a shit. What if they're a liberal Zionist? The liberal Zionists are on the same side as Donald Trump. You can't support genocide abroad and then be resistant to fascism at home. That's not a thing. Bedtime removed. Yeah. Andor won an Emmy? Also, this is incredibly based. Look at this, chat.
If you find out a company that you're going to go into business with is in business...
Andor won 5 Emmys? 5 Emmys? Deserved. I can't believe it. I didn't watch the Emmys. What the fuck? I would have watched them if I knew Andor was going to win so many. Of course, the show that's actually good only has 2 seasons, but we're going to have infinite fucking slop shows. Outstanding writing for a drama series? Sci-fi costumes, production design, picture editing for a drama series? And of course, special effects. And sound editing. God damn, they won the writing award? God damn. That's shocking. I mean, the other stuff is usually how the Academy works. I mean, editing too? Damn. It's really hard for like a fantasy or sci-fi show to win mainstream awards like editing and writing. Like they'll give them like these production awards, but like editing and writing, holy shit. I mean, I agree. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. But goddamn, that's surprising. Oh, we were watching the most badass based shit of all time. Oh, why did I stop in the middle? Fuck. I have too many tabs. Fuck. Okay, let's watch this whole thing.
If you find out a company that you're going to go into business with is in business with Israel, what do?
I won't work. I won't work. I cannot work with somebody that's justify or support the genocide. As simple as that. And we shouldn't be able to. In this industry and in any other industry. Today in Madrid, in Spain, the cycle, La Vuelta, the bicycle tour, it was stopped by thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets saying we can't allow Team of Israel in this tour to whitewash. The world has changed, and what we are witnessing is a genocide, as I said in your show, in 4K, alive on a daily basis. This has to stop.
If you find out
what a motherfucking king. Anton is so fucking cool. Javier Bardem. I mean, he was the villain in No Country for Old Men, but he's the fucking hero in real life. Javier. Honestly, one of my favorite villains of all time. What I love about him is that it's a portrayal of sociopathy that is actually true to life and so disconcerting and so cool. I just like the way the character would distance himself from his own violence.
Finally, I'll pay the difference. Sorry. Finally, I just want to say, finally, go Birds, and free Palestine. Thank you.
They're doing a thing where they take money away from a charity to get people to go off the stage? What the fuck? Even as a bit. Like, this is the Little Brothers, Big Brothers thing, right? Like, that's that charity symbol. Oh, that's so funny. It was, sorry, chat, Twitter.
Finally, I'll pay the difference. Sorry. Finally, I just want to say, finally, go Birds, and free Palestine. Thank you.
Here's the unedited one. Was there an edit? Like, what happened?
The sun, and I just get to stand in her warmth. And I also want to thank the crew of Hacks. Finally, I'll pay the difference. Sorry. Finally, I just want to say, finally, go Birds, fuck ICE, and free Palestine. Thank you.
What a queen. What a queen. But I think we're beyond just the, like, I appreciate these people making these brave stands, and they're fucking awesome. We all need to recognize that we're beyond this point. We are beyond this point. There's no more, it's not just about making a stand. We have to make a change.
Can you talk about that? Separate movements?
Well, they're not going to be allowing this on CBS for long. Barry Weiss is having her head explode right now.
Position was on the insurrectionists, but pardoning people who've tried to overthrow democracy by using political violence is surely, under any analysis whatsoever, more of a catalyst for political violence than calling people names. And then I've also found myself in the last 24 hours reading people who used to claim that calling people names is just hurty words. Even Farage is in the Daily Mail today complaining about people being called names. And yet these are the guys who 10 minutes ago were telling us that our free speech was under that. I mean, I'm just really confused until you start wondering whether it is, as always, all about the race. As is often the way, the transgender people being used as camouflage in the first instance to go all in on the racism. Allowing public discourse to be vile again in the context of transgender people, you're never going to get that genie back in the bottle, and all of the people whose bigotries extend far beyond one issue have been filling their boots ever since. I want you to listen to something. First of all, I want you to listen to this. This is a political commentator from the Republican Party. I think he used to work for George Bush. He definitely worked for one of the George Bushes. I just can't completely remember which one. This guy got sacked.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
That is a guy called Matthew Dowd speaking on MSNBC. He got fired for those words shortly afterwards. This is a guy called Jesse Waters speaking on Fox News in more or less the same window of time, and both in response to this horrible murder.
Trump gets hit in the ear. Charlie gets shot dead. They came after Kavanaugh with a rifle to his neighborhood. They went after Musk's cars. They just shot 2 Jews outside the embassy. Think about it. Scalise got shot, barely survived. It's happening. You got trans shooters. You got riots in L.A. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, and the media, and all of these rats out there. This can never happen again. It ends now. Greg's right again. This is a turning point, and we know which direction we're going.
And by the way, chat, this is Stephen Miller as a young man, Trump's advisor.
To the issue of the Iraqi civilians, I think that as many of them should survive as possible, because the goal of any military conflict is to kill as few people as possible. But as for Saddam Hussein and his henchmen, I think the ideal solution would be to cut off their fingers. I don't think it's necessary to kill them entirely. We're not a barbaric people. We respect life. Therefore, torture is the way to go. Because torture people can live. Torture is a celebration of life and human dignity. We need to remember that as we enter these very dark and dangerous times in the next century. And I only hope that many of my peers and people who will be leading this country will appreciate the value and respect that torture shows towards other cultures.
Bro is fucking balding at 17. Jesus. No wonder he's so mad. No wonder he's so fucking mad. Look at those peaks.
Still got a job. And, you know, I share his condemnation of political violence, but who are they? Who is this homogenous group of people that are all responsible for the actions of those individuals? I mean, he did actually go further.
We're angry and we're resolute. And we're going to avenge Charlie's death in the way Charlie would want it to be avenged.
Are you talking about avenging now? And how can you be opposed to political violence but supportive of a man who pardoned the January the 6th insurrectionists? You remember that footage, you saw it, you watched it. Donald Trump lost an election and his supporters attacked the Capitol and attacked the public servants working there and bayed for the blood of the actual vice president. I still don't know enough about Charlie Kirk to know how he would feel about the coverage of his murder. But I mean, I'm certain that he wouldn't want people to be complaining about hearing his words being repeated and disseminated, and I don't know. I mean, listen, if you're gonna, you talk about all of the people that Waters guy just talked about, and it's right to do so, but you then have to talk about Melissa Hortman and her husband, targeted in their homes, killed by a Trump supporter. That's a matter of record. The man charged with the attempted assassination of Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro in April, a Trump supporter. 4 Democratic elected officials targeted in New Mexico in 2022. The man who tried to kidnap the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and actually assaulted her husband Paul. That's something that Donald Trump Jr. made jokes about. Imagine if someone was making jokes, someone in public life, a really senior Democrat, was making jokes about Charlie Kirk's murder now. What do you think would happen to them? But Donald Trump's son made jokes about attempted kidnap and attack upon senior Democrats. Everybody who wanted to hang Mike Pence on January the 6th, 2021 was a Trump supporter. By definition, if you were there, you weren't just a Trump supporter, you were also spreading lies, buying lies, disseminating lies, or, to be generous, believing lies. And the list goes on. And the list should be married to the other list. They should all be on the same list. Gabby Gifford's shot in the head, a Democrat. We speak about they, all of these Democrats. Is there some unidentified homogenous group, the radical left? Who are you talking about? People who support political violence. There are two types of people. People who support political violence and people who don't. Actually, there are three types of people. There are people who undertake political violence, and they are the worst. Then there are the people who support political violence.
By the way, Charlie Kirk organized 80 buses for January 6th. So he was an active participant in the coup attempt.
And they are the second worst. And then there are the people who abhor and condemn political violence, and they are all of us. Why is that suddenly complicated in the context of this story? Why is it suddenly tribal? Why is it political or footballified? Here are the people who undertake political violence, up to and including whoever turns out to have shot Charlie Kirk and all of the people, for example, who attacked the Capitol in 2021. Here are the people who support political violence, whoever is doing it, and here are the people who don't. That's a scary division. That's a really scary division, because you kind of end up being told, in this context, in this sort of crucible of very carefully cultivated hatred, that anybody who disagrees with you is responsible for the political violence enacted against the people who agree with you. Anybody who disagrees with you, it's a bit like what they tried to do with the Palestinian peace marches. If you're protesting, if you're demonstrating solidarity with innocent people being killed in Gaza, then you must support Hamas. If you disagree with Donald Trump, then you must support the people who tried to kill him. If you disagree with some of the racist conspiracy theories that Charlie Kirk adhered to, notably the Great Replacement theory, if you disagree with that, then you must somehow endorse his murder. I mean, is that what they're saying? Is that what it is? Is it actually a lot simpler than it originally looks? It's all about controlling the narrative, and the narrative is that everybody who disagrees with us, just as we saw with the Reichstag fire, everybody who disagrees with us deserves the violence that we are pretending to condemn and abhor.
There are mixed reports. I think I said earlier that the FBI had the shooter's note and they destroyed it, but just to do a quick correction, it looks like the letter was destroyed, but who did it and when isn't clear. Only that the FBI has some sort of forensic form of the letter. Now, that information has not been released as far as I understand. So I want you to understand, here's what I want you to understand, chat, is that the fascists have seized control of the Republican Party and the right wing. Everything I said about how the centrist Democrats were going to align with the fascists is coming true. It is a very dark day. That said, to give you some positive news, Zoran is kicking Cuomo's ass. Zoran is kicking Cuomo's ass, and they're starting to bend the knee. Governor Kathy Hochul just endorsed Zoran Mamdani. She bent the knee. Leader Hakeem Jeffries will have more to say about the general election well in advance of November 4th. Meanwhile, confused New Yorkers are asking themselves the question, Chris Van who? Following Senator Chris Van Hollen's criticism of Dem leadership or refusing to endorse Zoran Mamdani, Hakeem Jeffries' spokesperson mocks Chris Van who? These fucking losers, man. These fucking losers. Why are we losing to fascism? Kathy Hochul has bent the fucking knee. Nassau County Democratic leader Jay Jacobs said the GOP survey of Mamdani's deep unpopularity in the suburb of 1.4 million residents is accurate based on his own party's polling, but he disputed the findings for Hochul. Okay, dude.
These guys won't even endorse Mamdani. Like, are they the leaders the Democratic Party need at this moment?
They are the absolute antithesis of what the Democratic Party needs right now. And I hate to say that, but these guys are on such the wrong route for what we need. We have an antidote to this populist message. We finally have the left's version of how we do this and help people, and we do it for everybody. We don't exclude anybody. Even MAGA, you're welcome to come. We're talking to you. These are your politics. These are your issues that you need to have dealt with, and we hear that, and we're actually going to do it.
Yeah. Young men are flocking to him, which Democrats struggle with.
Yes, I mean, so...
He's leading with Jewish voters, too, despite all the propaganda.
What is it?
That they won't endorse him.
Why? Chuck Schumer, why are you doing this? Hakeem Jeffries, why are you doing this? You are...
Do you think it's the donors?
It's the donor class.
And their own cowardice?
Once the Democrats became, well, it started with Citizens United. You talk to any politician, they'll tell you they spend 3/4 of their time on the phone. They hate fundraising, they hate it. And they spend all of their time on the phone raising funds, okay? And it's not like us when we give our money. We give our $2,000. We're not calling them every day like, what the hell are you doing? These people throw in their $1 million, $500,000, $100,000 into a pack, and they own that. They got Chuck Schumer's cell phone. Okay?
So if you don't know, Mark Ruffalo will frequently give, a good, decent contribution to leftist politicians. Does it directly to their campaign and follows the campaign finance limits. He's in fucking Marvel movies, okay? He could pay $2,000 to Bernie Sanders, okay? He's talking about the donor class, the difference between a class traitor like himself and the donor class.
They own it.
His flip phone.
Jesus Christ would have despised you, Mr. Doubles. You are a Pharisee. You are a money changer in the temple. He would have despised your ass. You say the words without listening to what the man said. He said, give no thought to the morrow. How you treat the least of you is how you treat me. You want to kill homeless people. Do you think Jesus Christ is on your side, motherfucker? He would cast you into the pit himself. You are the Antichrist. That's who you worship. You worship wealth. You worship the rich. You spit on the poor, the homeless, the refugee, the widow, the orphan. You are scum.
I mean, the leader of the Democrats doesn't have a smartphone.
I think the world's just left that behind now. Chuck is a sweet guy, and I've known him for a long time, and he's done good things.
But it's time for him to go.
But they're not up to the moment.
They're not up to the moment. That's the key point. We're like facing fascism.
We are facing fascism, and they're acting like this is just another.
I gotta write a sternly worded letter.
Sternly worded letter. Ah!
Yeah, they need the Hulk. They need the Hulk.
They need something.
Yeah.
These guys won't even. Mark is a really nice guy, actually. There's a few people I've met in my life who are like earnest and kind. And Mark Ruffalo is one of those people. If you like Mark Ruffalo, you're right. He's a very cool guy. Now, he's under a lot of pressure to shut the fuck up constantly. Can you imagine Disney picking up the phone and going, you're the Hulk, shut up? Trump said that public companies should not be required to file quarterly, but instead every 6 months. Called up how to cut interest rates bigger than he had in mind. The economy is going to crash. The economy is going to crash. Eventually, this AI bubble is going to burst because it's fucking useless. So AI's been going crazy for years. What have we gotten from AI? How has AI made our lives better? Someone articulate one fucking thing that AI has done that has improved the economy. One thing. I remember when the internet came. I remember emails. I remember Wikipedia coming around. I remember YouTube coming around. I remember live streaming starting. What the fuck has AI done? Name one fucking thing. I can't think of one fucking thing. Targeting babies in Gaza? I mean, like, it's not like we suddenly have a bunch more apps and a bunch more websites that are super cool. It's not like we have a bunch more content or video games that are super cool. It seems like the production of video games is the same. The production of websites is the same. The production of, like, what the fuck are we even talking about? What's better? What diseases have been cured? All right, chat, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much. I'll be back on here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, if I'm allowed to be, before I get arrested because I said that Charlie Kirk sucks. Political violence bad. Don't do political violence, chat. Keep yourself and your family close. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever. I'll see you all tomorrow.